Chapter 194. A group of strange white and red trees surrounded Huang Kun and the others, dancing and singing to the beat. Dancing happily, 1 2 3, wooden man, dancing happily, 1 2 3, wooden man, don't blink, don't laugh, don't cry, don't move, dancing happily, 1 2 3, wooden man, dancing happily. Hee hee, come and play. This cheerful song seemed to be able to disturb people's minds, making them unable to help but dance along. The game of Wooden Man, even if the people of Great Xia had never played it since they were young, they had heard of the rules of the game. Under such circumstances, Huang Kun, Shu Luan, and the others were desperately trying to control their urge to dance. They were motionless, and even their breathing had slowed to the minimum. However, for Sharuk and Ivan, there was a cultural difference. They did not understand the rules of the Wooden Man's game. Then, they moved, looking at each other with pale faces. Hee hee, you guys moved. Come and catch me quickly. All the branches of the small trees pointed at Sharuk and Ivan in unison. Their movements were very orderly. The branches that were like small hands waved at the two of them. Then, these white and red small trees opened their chubby baby legs and ran away. In a flash, they disappeared without a trace. Sharuk and Ivan were a little confused. In just a breath, those small trees ran back. Hee hee. You didn't catch me. I'll punish you. They seemed to be clapping their hands and laughing happily. After saying that, the branches that looked like small hands quickly grew and extended, entangling Sharuk and Ivan. The two foreign spirit cultivators wanted to dodge, but to their horror, they found that their bodies could not move. The invisible swamp mud seemed to be imprisoning them. Whoosh, many tree branches tied Sharuk and Ivan tightly like dumplings. Punishment. Punishment, eat dumplings, the little trees beat the beat merrily. Accompanied by these beats, the two big meat dumplings were shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. Hee hee. Finished eating, come and continue playing. Then, they retracted those tied tree branches and continued to clap and circle around Huang Kun and the others, singing the Wooden Man's song. Thus, Huang Kun and the others didn't dare to move. This was because when the branches retracted, Sharuk and Ivan had already become two skeletons. Their flesh and blood had been sucked dry. This scene left Jiang Xi and the others in the distance completely dumbfounded, their throats dry. In the game punishment just now, a mid-stage spirit vessel and an early-stage spirit vessel were unable to resist at all. Like a little chick, it was easily squashed to death. Even if it was them, if they were to suffer such a strange punishment, they would also suffer the same fate. At this moment, Yuan Qingshan's people were trying their best to move out of Tomorrow Palace. It was slightly faster than a normal person's walking speed. At this speed, it would take a lot of time to leave Bright Heaven Palace. Jiang Xi and the other two naturally tried to stop him. However, as they were trapped in the domain, it was difficult for them to exert their strength. There was no way they could effectively block the attack. In the distance, the white and red trees were dancing and singing around Huang Kun and the others with their chubby baby legs. They had already circled them 3 times. However, no matter how distracting their singing was, Huang Kun and the others tried their best to remain still. This time, they didn't even pant and directly held their breaths. After 3 rounds, the little trees seemed to have lost the fun of the game. They jumped away and ran towards Jiang Xi and Xian Tian. You hit once, I'll hit once. In an instant, the 4 of them didn't dare to move. It was the same scene. They surrounded Jiang Xi and the others, as well as Yuan Qingshan's people, singing and circling around 3 times. The 4 of them also didn't move. This time, the little trees' programs seemed to have been messed up. Not fun, not fun. They had already lost the fun of the game once, and they felt it again here. This group of strange little trees began to go crazy. The branches on their bodies were like snakes, dancing irregularly. They let out strange childish cries, which were extremely strange. Woo woo woo, ee ee ee, yeah yeah yeah. Seeing this scene, Jiang Xi and the others didn't dare to move even more. In the next moment, all the white and red trees' branches grew again, but not towards Jiang Xi and the others. Instead, the little trees wrapped around each other, becoming tighter and tighter. Soon, the little trees huddled together. They shook violently. As if they were fusing, the little trees disappeared one by one, turning into a strange little tree. The new little tree grew rapidly, becoming taller and bigger. In the end, it turned into a big tree with white bark and red leaves. It was very similar to the ancient tree that stood in the depths of the barren space. The only difference was that this big tree had a pair of long, fair legs. They were beautiful and round, looking extremely moving. Unfortunately, its upper body was a tree, trespassing into the bright heaven palace and disturbing Granny's dreams. Die! This big tree actually let out a woman's voice. Moreover, the voice was melodious and pleasant to the ears. However, no matter how moving the long legs and pleasant voice were, they couldn't be compared to her monstrous ferocity. The red branches and leaves on her upper body were like hair, growing in an instant. Like arrows, they shot towards Jiangxi and the others in a densely packed manner. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air was shocking. The power of each branch and leaf had reached the golden core stage. Danger! Jiang Xi only felt goosebumps all over his body, but he found that he couldn't move at all. The domain power that trapped them completely immobilized them on the spot. Xian Tian and Li Baibai were also shocked. They tried hard to struggle, but it was to no avail. Soul-suppressing bell. At this moment, the person from Yuan Qingshan suddenly shouted. Suddenly, the soul-suppressing bell on his wrist buzzed softly and lit up with a golden light. The golden light didn't form a halo on his body. Instead, it enveloped the big tree. Humph! The big tree with long legs only let out an angry snort and stopped moving. It was as if it was really suppressed. Ha! Enjoy it! The person from Yuan Qingshan laughed wildly and ran out of Ming Tian Palace. The soul-suppressing bell helped him break free from the shackles of the realm. However, the power of the realm that trapped Jiang Xi and the others didn't disappear. Could they only watch the person from Yuan Qingshan leave? And then be killed by the spirit of the big tree? They didn't want to give up, but they couldn't move. At this time, Riverward didn't notice that there was an extremely faint light shining on his combat uniform, so faint that it was almost undetectable. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew, and the power of the realm suddenly disappeared. Jiang Xi and Xian Tian were stunned. However, they reacted quickly and saw that the person from Yuan Qingshan was about to escape. Stay here. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. His spiritual sense, spiritual power, and Gale true intent instantly gathered on the spiritual weapon, Abyss Condensation. Under the extreme speed, there was a whoosh. A sword light flashed like lightning and caught up with the person from Yuan Qingshan. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. What? The person from Yuan Qingshan, who had already escaped more than 10,000 meters away, couldn't react at all. He could only raise his hand subconsciously to block. There was a puff. Coincidentally, half of his arm that was wearing the soul-suppressing bell was cut off. The soul-suppressing bell fell to the ground with half of his arm. Ah! The person from Yuan Qingshan screamed, but he didn't dare to stay any longer. He rushed out of Ming Tian Palace in a flash. At the same time, the spirit of the big tree that was trapped by the light of the soul-suppressing bell disappeared. She was free. Chapter 195. Let's go. Let's try to escape. In the face of such a change, Jiang Xi and Xian Tian shouted anxiously at the same time. The two of them and Li Baibai flew out of the palace. Huang Kun, Shu Luan, and the other 4 people on the ghost path also escaped without their orders. But before they could run far, they were shocked by what they saw. The tree spirit, who had just escaped, screamed in horror as if she had encountered something terrible. Her white skin and red leaves trembled violently. Clatter, white and red trees broke away from her body one by one. Woo woo woo, yeah. Soon, she turned back into the white and red little trees. As for the saplings, they were also extremely terrified. They simply ignored Riverward and the others as they swung their chubby baby legs and directly ran towards the ancient tree in the depths of the desolate space. In just a moment, all the small trees returned to the ancient tree. The ancient tree with white skin and red leaves was quiet and unchanged. If it weren't for the two skeletons in the palace and the withered broken bones and rotten flesh, it would be as if nothing had happened. Jiang Xi and the others looked at each other. It was too sudden. The strange and terrifying tree spirit retreated just like that. Let's go. Xian Tian shouted in a low voice. No matter what happened, it was not good to stay here for long. Before leaving, Jiang Xi did not forget to take away the requiem bell on Yuan Qingshan's broken arm. They followed the ghost path and rushed down the mountain. Yeah. After running far away, they seemed to be able to hear the child's voice coming from the Tomorrow Palace. They did not know if it was an auditory hallucination or something else. Soon, the 8 of them arrived at the Evil Heaven Palace. There were many bull-headed soldiers and horse-faced soldiers in the spirit-gathering stage. No one dared to underestimate them. Before entering the palace, Jiang Xi took out the requiem bell, held it in his hand, and glanced at Xu Luan and Han Wenju. He was thinking about who to give it to because the requiem bell was secretly taken out by Han Wenju's wife from the Shu Jia. Logically speaking, the requiem bell belonged to the Shu Jia, but its final owner was Han Wenju's wife. At this moment, Xu Luan and Han Wenju both had awkward expressions on their faces. Jiang Xi had taken the requiem bell from Yuan Qingshan's people. If Jiang Xi didn't return it, they couldn't say anything. Of course, they didn't dare to say anything because the strength Jiang Xi had displayed was enough to make him unafraid of the hidden families. While they were in a dilemma, Jiang Xi had already made his decision. He smiled and handed the requiem bell to Han Wenju. As for the ownership of the requiem bell, it was better to let them fight amongst themselves. Thank you. Han Wenju solemnly expressed his gratitude. Jiang Xi just waved his hand and smiled. However, Han Wenju handed the soul-suppressing bell to Xu Luan. Xu Luan accepted it with a straight face. The atmosphere between the two of them eased up a little as he solemnly said, "When we go back, take some time to bring my sister to visit the old master. Although he doesn't show mercy, he has been talking about it in private for a long time." Han Wenju's face was full of smiles as he hid his excitement. This scene made Xian Tian and the others laugh as well. It seemed that Han Wenju's marriage back then hadn't been approved by the Shu Jia. Jiang Xi smiled slightly. He had never thought of leaving the requiem bell behind. Through Daoist Ji's inherited memories, he already knew that the requiem bell could barely be considered a spiritual artifact, but it was a mediocre spiritual artifact. Moreover, it was a spiritual artifact that targeted ghosts. It had two functions, defense and soul suppression. The defense function was only effective against ghosts below the Golden Core stage. If it was a ghost at the Golden Core stage, it could break the defensive halo with one blow. The soul suppression function was slightly stronger and could imprison a ghost at the Golden Core stage. He had seen it just now. The people of Yuan Qingshan had used the requiem bell to suppress the Golden Core tree spirit. Generally speaking, the requiem bell was a powerful Dharma treasure for the ghost hunters of the Shu Jia. However, it was a little useless for Jiang Xi. Compared to the profound condensation sword, it was not worth mentioning at all. That was because the abyss condensing sword was an inferior grade spiritual artifact, a true spiritual artifact. Therefore, it was not worthwhile to offend the Shu and Han families for a mediocre spiritual artifact. After Xu Luan took the requiem bell, he activated it with his spiritual power. Obviously, he knew this spiritual artifact better than the people of Yuan Qingshan. After all, it was his family's heirloom. A rich golden light spread out and covered everyone. Its defensive ability was 100 times stronger than the Requiem talisman, and it gave them a strong sense of security. This time, it was still Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Bai who stood in front. Let's rush out in one go. We can't stop. Xian Tian said seriously. Everyone nodded because they weren't sure if the two Golden Core stage ghosts on the Evil Sky Palace's path of ghosts would attack again. If they did, some of them might die. Jiang Xi's expression also became serious. At the same time, he was also puzzled. Was the bull-headed ghost he encountered in the depths of the Evil Sky Palace the same as the one in the Evil Sky Palace? With that thought, they rushed in. It was a quiet scene, but it made them stop in their tracks, and they were stunned. There was not a single bull-headed soldier or horse-faced soldier on the Evil Sky Palace's path of ghosts. The fog on both sides of the path of ghosts was also motionless. Everything seemed to be safe. Everyone looked at each other. Such a scene made them even more vigilant and didn't dare to relax. However, they didn't slow down. They all moved forward at an extremely fast speed. In less than 10 breaths, they broke through the Evil Sky Palace. Everyone looked at each other. It was too strange. It was really safe. Everything in the Evil Sky Palace returned to normal. In the barren space on the left side of the Path of Ghosts, an ancient tree with white bark and red leaves stood there, exuding an ancient aura. After Jiang Xi and the others left for a while, two tall figures walked out from the depths of the barren space. It was the bull-headed ghost spirit and the horse-faced ghost spirit. Suddenly, the lush branches and leaves of the ancient tree moved. Anyo, little horse, greets Grandma Mangrove Tree. The two Golden Core stage ghosts knelt respectfully in front of the ancient tree. Those humans have left? The ancient tree emitted an old voice like that of an old woman. They have left. The bull-headed ghost spirit replied in a muffled voice. Grandma Mangrove Tree quietened down and didn't say a word. The bull-headed ghost spirit and the horse-faced ghost spirit didn't dare to move. They knelt obediently. After a long time, Grandma Mangrove Tree seemed to have woken up from her sleep. Her old voice sounded. The two of you have to work hard in the coming days. Guard the path of ghosts well. Don't let the humans come up next time. The bull-headed ghost spirit and the horse-faced ghost spirit looked at each other. Grandma, you don't restrict us from attacking? The horse-faced ghost spirit asked. You can attack as you wish in the future. Grandma Mangrove Tree replied. The two tall ghosts were like children, cheering and jumping for joy. Then, the bull-headed ghost spirit said hesitantly, Grandma, why didn't you let us stop the humans just now? If Little Horse and I were to attack, they wouldn't be able to escape. Grandma Mangrove Tree was silent for a long time before she said, that young man with the sword has a great terror on him. Even I don't dare to provoke him. The bull-headed ghost spirit and the horse-faced ghost spirit widened their eyes in shock and fear. An existence that even Grandma Mangrove Tree was afraid of. Fortunately, they didn't attack just now. Chapter 196. The Ju Tian Palace at the foot of Fengdu Mountain was just as Jiang Xi and the others had expected. The ghost path was empty. Sure enough, the wandering souls here had also disappeared. Could it be that it was like playing a game where the monsters were gone after clearing the level? Jiang Xi was a little disappointed. He had wanted to farm a wave of experience points in the Ju Tian Palace. In addition, they did not see any traces of Yuan Qing's people. It seemed that they had escaped. They still had not gotten rid of the most mysterious founder of the Liberal Alliance. Let's leave the Fengdu mystic realm first, Xian Tian said in a deep voice. Then, the 8 of them returned along the way they came. Jiang Xi turned around and glanced at Fengdu Mountain. This black mountain seemed to be able to pierce through the sky. This time, they had only reached the bright heaven palace halfway up the mountain. They had no idea what else was up there. The dark sky was like a cover, covering the top of Fengdu Mountain. There seemed to be an inextinguishable flame burning above, and the fire it emitted brought some light to this world. The inheritance of the ghost sect is at Fengdu Mountain. Back then, Taoist Gu chased after the ghost sect's path integration expert, Yin Tiansheng, and came to Earth. Yin Tiansheng's destination was the Fengdu Mountain in the Fengdu mystic realm. My strength is still too low. Jiang Xi shook his head. With his current strength, he could not even break through the bright heaven palace. That ancient tree with white bark and red leaves was definitely a terrifying existence whose strength far exceeded his. Its cultivation was at least at the nascent soul stage. Jiang Xi decided to go back and keep a low profile for a while. He felt that it was very dangerous to come out without the strength of the golden core stage. The 8 of them returned the way they came and soon arrived at the spatial door. Then, they passed through the spatial door and returned to the stone cave. Looking at the deep spatial door, everyone's expressions were very solemn. Because in the end, they did not find a way to close the spatial door. And from the looks of it, Yuan Qing's people were not there either. Otherwise, Yuan Qingshan's people would have closed the door when they escaped. However, there was also good news. They had confirmed that those ghosts could not leave those palaces. For the time being, they did not have to worry that the ghosts would rush out and bring disaster to the Great Xia Kingdom. That being said, it was still necessary to take precautions. From the looks of it, the danger level of Fengdu's secret realm is 1 level higher than Yi Mountain. Elder Huang, Shu Luan, I'll have to trouble you this time. Xian Tian looked at the 2 of them. Huang Kun nodded. I will arrange for a new dark suppression army to be set up here. When the time comes, the Shu Jia will also participate. Shu Luan also said, don't worry, I will send the Shu Jia's elites to guard this place together with the underworld army. With just a few words, the 3 of them confirmed the establishment of an army. It could also be seen how much importance everyone placed on the Fengdu mystic realm. Jiang Xi didn't interrupt. He wasn't good at politics. Professional matters should be left to the professionals. After they finished their discussion, it was time to distribute the spoils. This time, everyone entered the Fengdu secret realm mainly to investigate the situation inside, but there were also additional gains. It was those soul-solidifying pills. At that time, after Taoist Yuan Qingshan succeeded in refining the pills, Xian Tian went to stop him. In the end, a strange wind appeared and blew the refined soul-solidifying pills to various places in Bright Heaven Palace. Later, under Huang Kun and the others' search, almost all of them were recovered. Jiang Xi understood that the strange wind was caused by Taoist Gu. His goal was to lure him to the teleportation formation. A total of 180 soul-solidifying pills will be distributed according to contribution. Does anyone have any objections? Xian Tian looked at everyone with a smile. No objections. Everyone chuckled and felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. Wasn't this the scene when they were young and roamed the wilderness as a small martial artist team and finally distributed the spoils? Xian Tian continued with a smile. Me, Li Baibai, and Jiang Xi. The 3 of us contributed the most, so we'll take half. Each of us will get 30 soul-solidifying pills. The 5 of you will split the remaining half. Each of you will get 18 pills. No objections, right? He mainly looked at Jiang Xi. He was worried that the others would be dissatisfied with Jiang Xi's share. No objections. Everyone shook their heads again. Everyone saw Jiang Xi's performance in the Fengdu's secret realm. Although he was young, the strength he displayed was on the same level as Xian Tian and Li Baibai. The 180 soul-solidifying pills were distributed to everyone by Xian Tian. What a pity. Of the 2 soul-solidifying pills that were obviously of a higher quality, one was taken by Yuan Qingshan, and the other is missing. Xian Tian shook his head. The other one is with me. Jiang Xi smiled and took out the Longan-sized soul-solidifying pill from his combat uniform. Everyone had basically seen the scene when he chased after Ma Jinhai. Presumably, they would also guess that he might have obtained another large soul-condensing pill. Therefore, he might as well admit it openly. Ha, you're really lucky, kid. Xian Tian laughed loudly. When he said this, he tacitly agreed that the large soul-solidifying pill was Jiang Xi's personal spoils of war. The others couldn't say anything else. Although some people were tempted, they could only give up. After all, they had seen the changes in Yuan Qingshan after taking the soul-solidifying pill with their own eyes. That was a chance to reach the golden core stage. No one dared to compete with Jiang Xi. Their strength was there for all to see. Jiang Xi smiled faintly. He also understood Xian Tian's intention. Xian Tian took the initiative to mention the two large soul-solidifying pills with the intention of eliminating the hidden dangers of being guessed by others. Of course, even if Xian Tian didn't mention it, he wasn't afraid that someone would covet it. If someone really dared to ask for it, he would use the Abyss Condensation Sword to reason with them. Because this soul-solidifying pill was an inferior-grade spirit pill. Those inferior spirit pills couldn't be compared to it at all. Through Daoist Ge's inherited memories, he had a general understanding of spirit weapons and spirit pills. The two grades were divided into inferior grade, middle grade, superior grade, and supreme grade. Those that didn't reach inferior grade belonged to the inferior category. The last time he was in the heaven-reaching tower in the Jade Lake Mystic Realm, the soul-solidifying pill that Ni Shang gave him every day was an inferior spirit pill. Spirit pills were very precious. Usually, only golden core cultivators could afford to use inferior-grade spirit pills. For spirit-nurturing cultivators, they were very lucky to be able to smell it. At this time, Xian Tian said again, Jiang Xi, come back to Xian Tian City with me later. Jiang Xi was stunned for a moment before he agreed. After that, except for Huang Kuan and Xu Luan, who had to stay behind to prepare for the establishment of the Dark Suppression Army, the others said goodbye to each other and went back to their own homes. Jiang Xi boarded Xian Tian's transport plane and followed them to Xian Tian City. On the transport plane, Xian Tian looked down at the mountains and rivers under the night sky and sighed. I really envy you for being able to fly in the air and wander around the great rivers and mountains as you wish. Jiang Xi chuckled and said, once you reach the golden core stage, you don't have to envy me anymore. Ha, you're right. It's very difficult to reach the golden core stage, but for me, Xian Tian, it's just a matter of breaking through a layer of membrane. Xian Tian said heroically. Jiang Xi smiled and didn't say anything. He felt that Xian Tian was a bit shocked. Because Yuan Qingshan seemed to have reached the golden core stage earlier than Xian Tian. Chapter 197. After Xian Tian finished sighing, he suddenly asked, are you wondering why I want you to go with me? Jiang Xi smiled gently, is the pavilion master worried that someone will rob me? Xian Tian nodded and said seriously, don't look like you don't care. You can't let your guard down. Just from the Ma family, you can see how deep the heritage of the hidden family is. The great condensing pill in your hand can let a person in the late stage of spirit nurture have the opportunity to reach the gold core stage. Although I look down on people who use external things like elixirs to break through the realm, those old guys who have been hiding for a long time don't have this taboo. Many of them are shameless. If they really make a move, even I may not be able to stop them. Xian Tian's words made Jiang Xi put away his casual attitude. He believed that he had the ability to fly and was not afraid of many things. But what if a gold core stage cultivator made a move? A gold core stage cultivator could fly. Ha, don't be so serious. I was just joking. I'll say it again. Those old fellows, even if you pry open their doors and dig up their graves, they won't come out. Xian Tian suddenly laughed. Jiang Xi was speechless for a while. After Xian Tian laughed, he said, of course, I called you this time because I do have something to tell you. Jiang Xi looked at him doubtfully. Xian Tian explained, "You should know that after the recovery of spirit qi, our great Xia kingdom occupies the largest territory among the 5 major countries in the world. There are 7 major prefectures. Correspondingly, the number of secret realms and ruins near the territory is also the largest. How to defend these dangerous places has become a big problem. Especially the secret realms in various places, there are all kinds of hidden dangers that are difficult for ordinary martial artists to deal with. Therefore, our great Xia martial artists generally have to bear the responsibility of guarding the secret realms after their strength reaches the spirit nurture stage. Which secret realm does the pavilion master want me to be responsible for?" Jiang Xi took the initiative to ask. "Dragon Spine Mountain's secret territory. It's close to Pak Sun province," said Xian Tian with a smile. "No problem." Jiang Xi nodded in agreement. He had some understanding of what Xian Tian had said. The problem of the ruins in the Great Xia Kingdom was basically a passive defense. The various prefectural cities' armies and military martial artists were responsible for the defense as long as the monsters didn't attack the cities because there were too many monsters gathered in the ruins of the wilderness. With the current strength of human warriors, they were unable to exterminate these monsters on a large scale. As for the secret realms, they were basically guarded by a spirit-nurturing stage cultivator. Some of the bigger secret realms even required the Great Xia Kingdom to set up a separate army. For example, Yi Mountain was guarded by the Zhenyi army and Qin Qi, who was at the spirit-gathering stage. It was the same for the Fengdu secret realm just now. They had to set up a new underworld suppression army and the power of the reclusive Shu Jia to ensure basic safety. Another situation was that a large martial artist force like Genten Budokan could guard one or more secret realms alone because of the large number of powerhouses. As far as Jiang Xi knew, Genten Budokan currently had 4 spirit-nurturing stage cultivators, including him. They needed to guard 4 secret realms at the same time. He had heard of the Dragon Spine Mountain secret territory that Xian Tian asked him to guard when he was still wandering in the wilderness around Pak Sun province a few years ago. There were many myths and legends about Dragon Spine Mountain since ancient times. After the Spirit Qi revival, some strange things had happened there. Moreover, it wasn't far from Pak Sun province. It really needed someone to guard it. If something really escaped from it, it could easily endanger Pak Sun province. If he was asked to guard it, with his speed, he could arrive in 1 or 2 minutes if something happened. After that, the two of them chatted for a while. Jiang Xi asked about the situation of Dragon Spine Mountain in detail before he stood up and said, "Head instructor, if there's nothing else, I'll go back first." Xian Tian nodded and said, "I've told you everything that needs to be told. Keep in touch if there's anything in the future." The cabin door of the transport plane opened in the air. Jiang Xi jumped down and flew away. At extreme speed, he disappeared into the night sky in an instant. Xian Tian looked in the direction where Jiang Xi left and touched his chin. He was indeed a little envious. He could go wherever he wanted. Jiang Xi, this kid, seems to have changed a little. He feels more mature than before. Strange, after thinking for a while, he shook his head again. He couldn't figure out what changes had happened to Jiang Xi. In fact, it was Daoist Ji's inherited memory that changed Jiang Xi's temperament. On the other side, Jiang Xi flew towards Pak Sun province. He was so fast that he could return to Tongtian district in less than 10 minutes. However, he didn't feel the joy of returning home. Instead, he frowned. Could it be that I brought out something unclean? Ever since he left the Fengdu secret realm, he had sensed through his sharp spiritual senses that something had been spying on him. This wasn't a small problem. That was why he hurriedly bid farewell to Xian Tian and prepared to use the secret technique from his inherited memory to check himself. Flying through the air, he quickly approached Pak Sun province. He didn't go in immediately. Instead, he flew into a ruined city. In a ruined building, Jiang Xi sat cross-legged. His hands were constantly forming seals. At the same time, the spiritual energy in his body circulated through his body in a unique way under the guidance of his spiritual senses. Full body check. He didn't miss any part of his body. Over and over again. After 15 minutes, Jiang Xi opened his eyes. He was still very puzzled. He had checked himself 100 times, but the feeling of being spied on still remained. Could it be an illusion? Jiang Xi shook his head. His sharp spiritual senses had never made a mistake. He continued to check, not even letting go of the combat uniform and shoes. He only gave up helplessly when the sun rose from the horizon. After checking himself 1,000 times, he still found nothing. It could really be an illusion. However, even so, he still remained cautious and vigilant. He didn't use the experience panel. What if there really was a powerhouse that he couldn't detect spying on him? Once he used the experience panel, it would be troublesome if the other party found out that his strength had increased abnormally. Looking at the rising sun, Jiang Xi let out a long sigh. He smiled and hid the hidden worries in his heart. He was going home. He flew in the direction of Pak Sun province. In just a dozen breaths, he was back at Tongtian district. Villa number 92. Jiang Daodu was on the balcony on the 3rd floor of the villa, facing the rising sun and cultivating. She suddenly opened her eyes and saw a figure flying over from afar. "Brother!" Jiang Daodu shouted in surprise. This was a big surprise. She thought that Jiang Xi would be gone for at least a month or so. In the end, he came back in one night and didn't even miss breakfast. Jiang Xi flew from the sky to the balcony. "Brother, did you catch a pet for me?" This unexpected question made the smile on Jiang Xi's face freeze. "Those ghosts aren't good looking." Next time, all right then, don't forget." Of course, of course." Jiang Xi sighed in relief. Chapter 198. After answering Jiang Dudu's question, Jiang Xi secretly heaved a sigh of relief. In the Fengdu's secret realm, how could he think of catching ghosts? He was always chased by ghosts. Wandering ghosts, ox-headed soldiers, horse-faced soldiers, ox-headed ghost spirits, horse-faced ghost spirits, and those strange tree spirits, white trees, red trees, and long-legged trees. No matter which one it was, they were not easy to get along with. But then again, these ghosts did not match Jiang Dudu's temperament. Even if he caught them, Jiang Dudu would definitely not like them. "Let's go and have breakfast." "Fried dough sticks, soy milk, and tofu pudding, which one do you choose?" Jiang Xi reached out and rubbed Jiang Dudu's head. "I want all of them." "So greedy. Are you afraid that I'll eat you until you're poor?" "Yo, I'm not afraid of you. Eat whatever you want." "Aha." The two of them played around downstairs and then jogged out of Tongtian district. They had to cross half of the city and go to Luming district's Apricot Garden district to have breakfast at a nearby breakfast shop. This was what the two of them often did in the past half a year that Jiang Xi had been cultivating at home. Occasionally, they would experience their original life. This way, they would not forget their original intention. However, what Jiang Xi did not notice was that when his hand was pressed on Jiang Dudu's head just now, an imperceptible stream of light entered Jiang Dudu's body from his body. Jiang Xi obediently played with Jiang Dudu for a week. During this period, he did not give up on checking the feeling of being spied on in the dark. In fact, he had long discovered that on the first day he returned, the feeling of being spied on had disappeared. After another week of observation, he felt a little more at ease. However, to be cautious, Jiang Xi still did not plan to use the experience panel. Instead, he calmed down and organized and comprehended the inheritance memories that Taoist Gu had left for him. In the last trip to the Fengdu's secret realm, perhaps in the eyes of Xian Tian and the others, Jiang Xi had obtained 1 large and 30 small condensing pills. This kind of harvest was the greatest among them. But they didn't know that these soul-condensing pills were nothing compared to Jiang Xi's other harvest. His greatest gain was Daoist Ji's inherited memories. After Jiang Xi sorted out his inherited memories, he began to cultivate the Purple Firmament Sword Scripture. The Purple Firmament Sword Scripture was a cultivation technique, not a sword technique manual. Compared to ordinary sword arts, the Purple Firmament Sword Sutra was like the truth of the sword Tao, while the various sword principles were practical applications. This technique is similar to the general principles of the sword Tao. After cultivating it, one's comprehension of the sword will increase. It was very profound. At the very least, Jiang Xi had a new understanding of the 9 elemental sword art that had already reached perfection after cultivating it for a while. With my current strength, the 9 elemental sword art can no longer keep up with the pace. I can use the Purple Firmament Sword Sutra and the 9 elemental sword art to deduce it together. Perhaps I will gain something. This thought surfaced in Jiang Xi's mind. But now was not the time to try. Just like that, he cultivated for another half a month. The feeling of being spied on never appeared again. He was completely relieved. It seemed that it was really just an illusion. In the training room, Jiang Xi chuckled and silently opened the experience panel. He looked at the experience balance, 1926085. He had gained a total of more than 900,000 experience points from the trip to the Fengdu's secret realm. Nearly 2 million experience points. Let's see what I can deduce. Jiang Xi looked expectant. In terms of sword techniques, it had been a long time since he improved. He said in his heart, use the Purple Firmament Sword Scripture and the 9 elemental sword art to deduce once. The next moment, the notification on the experience panel sounded. Deduction failed. Jiang Xi had long been mentally prepared. It would be strange if he succeeded in one try. Use the Purple Firmament Sword Scripture and the 9 elemental sword art to deduce once. Deduction failed. He repeated this 10 times. Jiang Xi's face was a little dark. He deduced another 10 times, but he still failed. His face was even darker after deducing 50 times. Jiang Xi almost didn't want to play anymore. Although the success rate of the deduction was related to the completeness and grade of martial techniques and Dao techniques. Last time, he used the 9 elemental sword art alone and deduced 50 times, but it ended in failure. But this time, he had already added the Purple Firmament Sword Scripture. Why was it still like this? Jiang Xi was unwilling to give up and sunk into a sunken cost. Use the Purple Firmament Sword Scripture and the 9 elemental sword art to deduce once. Deduction failed. Soon, 99 times, the experience points obtained in the Fengdu's secret realm had been used up. One more time. If I fail again, I won't play anymore. Use the Purple Firmament Sword Scripture and the 9 elemental sword art to deduce once. Deduction successful. You have comprehended the true meaning of sword. Experience points plus 200,000. The experience panel has been updated. Please check it in time. A series of notifications sounded. It was incomparably pleasant. Success. Jiang Xi was extremely excited. He opened the experience panel and checked. Cultivation, Spirit Nurturing, Middle Stage 4570152800, Dao Technique, True Meaning of Gale, 81501. 5 million, True Meaning of Sword, 11 million, Amplitude, 2, 467 Deduction, 10,000 experience points per attempt. Cultivation Technique, Purple Firmament Sword Scripture, Peacock Visualization Experience Points, 1126085. The 9 elemental sword art has finally leveled up. It has become a Dao technique, True Meaning of Sword. Jiang Xi tried hard to calm down the agitated emotions in his heart. The true meaning of sword was the same as the true meaning of saber. They were both top-notch true meaning of Dao and were one level higher than the true meaning of Gale. Previously, when he learned from Nikhang that Xian Tian had comprehended the true meaning of saber, he was still a little envious. That was because this type of true meaning had a huge increase in combat strength. Xian Tian relied on the true meaning of saber to barely possess the combat strength of a golden core cultivator a long time ago now. He had also comprehended the same level of true meaning of sword. Although he had lost 800,000 experience points, Jiang Xi did not feel the pinch at all. He could still calculate this bit of debt. I need a full 1 million experience points to comprehend it to perfection. Time is a big problem. Jiang Xi was deep in thought. With his current mid-stage spirit nurture cultivation, without considering the replenishment of spirit qi, his cultivation and Dao techniques could increase by 600 experience points per day. This was the limit that his body and spiritual consciousness could bear at the moment. Actually, when he first activated the experience points panel, he thought that as his strength increased, his body and spiritual consciousness became stronger. The experience points gained in cultivation and Dao techniques would increase by a large margin every day. It was only later that he realized that the increase was not much. From 30 experience points per day for grade F to 600 for mid-stage spirit nurture, it had only increased by 20 times. As for his body and spiritual consciousness that had already transformed into spiritual consciousness, compared to before, it had increased by more than 20 times. Even 100 times would be considered little. Therefore, Jiang Xi had long been puzzled in his heart. Why was the increase in experience points in various aspects of cultivation increasing so slowly every day? But he could not find the reason. Because he was the only one who had the experience points panel. He guessed that this might involve the essence of the experience points panel. With his current strength, he could not find the reason behind it. Jiang Xi shook his head and did not think about these questions that he could not figure out for now. When he had enough strength, the answer might come out on its own. Chapter 199. The sword intent requires a total of 1 million experience points to level up. If I increase it by 600 points per day, it will take 1,667 days. That's more than 4.5 years. In fact, this time was already considered fast for cultivators who had comprehended the Dao intent. From Daoist GE's inherited memories, Riverward knew that there were many cultivators in the universe who were at the true meaning of Dao stage. If they could completely comprehend a true meaning of Dao within 100 years, they would be considered very outstanding. Only those top geniuses could complete it within 10 years. That being said, for those who had cheated, pursuing the speed of improvement was an eternal and unchanging truth. Therefore, Jiang Xi thought of another way. If I have a sufficient source of spirit energy, I can offset the negative effects of exceeding my body's tolerance limit when I increase my strength on the interface. Jiang Xi sorted out the items that could provide spirit energy on his body. 1,000-year-old lotus seed, 1 inferior grade soul consolidating pill, and 30 unrated soul consolidating pills. These should be enough for a while. I'll think of another way later. I'll eat the lotus seed first. It's been 2 years. This 1,000-year-old lotus seed was a reward he received from Xian Tian 2 years ago after the battle at the Tongtian mountain in the Jade Pool mystic realm. He had never used it. There were a total of 13 lotus seeds. Jiang Xi ate them all like he was chewing candy. A huge amount of spirit energy appeared in his body. With his current strength, he could completely withstand the impact of this energy. Next was the familiar process of rapid improvement. Riverward borrowed this spiritual energy and used the experience panel to increase his sword intent at full power. 5 minutes later, the improvement ended. Sword intent, 801,511 million. Jiang Xi felt the comprehension of the sword intent in his mind. His brain was a little dizzy from the sudden increase of so many Dao techniques, but it was still bearable. A 1,000-year-old spiritual fruit can provide a little more than 80,000 points of spirit energy. Let's see how much the soul consolidating pill can provide. He first ate an unrated soul consolidating pill. The result was that the unrated spirit condensing pill was the same as the spirit nurturing pill. They could only provide 1,000 points of spiritual energy then. The inferior grade soul condensing pill, which was regarded as a treasure by the other spirit vessel cultivators, was also swallowed by Jiang Xi. After the upgrade, Jiang Xi frowned. It wasn't because too many Taoist insights had surged into his brain, causing him to feel lightheaded. It was just that the spiritual energy provided by this low-grade pill was pitifully low. It was only 10,000 points of spiritual energy. It was several times rarer than thousand-year-old phase. Strange. Jiang Xi searched through Taoist GE's inherited memories and quickly understood why. It turned out that there were many different types of spirit pills with different effects. The condensing essence pill was a type of spirit pill commonly used by cultivators in the universe. Its main effect was to refine spirit energy. Cultivators could use this to increase the quality of their spiritual power, thus achieving the goal of increasing their cultivation. It's not a spirit pill specifically used to replenish spiritual energy. Jiang Xi shook his head. He had to take back what he said just now. These spirit pills were not enough for him at all. As for the effect of the condensing essence pill to refine spirit energy, he didn't need it. Using the experience points panel to upgrade his cultivation directly saved the process of refining spirit energy. I'd better find a way to collect phase. Jiang Xi put away the remaining unrated condensing essence pills. The phase had not been refined and were full of spiritual energy, which met his requirements. He knew that Xian Tian still had a lot of thousand-year-old phase in his hands. He could think of a way to use these unrated condensing essence pills to trade, however, he had to find the right time and reason. Because the condensing essence pill was too precious for cultivators who needed to refine spirit energy. If he rashly used the condensing essence pill to trade with Xian Tian, it would make the other party suspicious. After sorting out these, Jiang Xi took out another item. It was the storage ring left by Taoist Gu. He had never found a chance to refine this item with his spiritual sense. With a storage spiritual weapon, it will be convenient to go out in the future. Jiang Xi smiled and began to refine it. Last time, it took him half a month to successfully refine the inferior grade spiritual weapon, the Abyss Condensation Sword. This time, he didn't know how long it would take. Anyway, there were no other urgent matters, so Jiang Xi spent most of his time refining the storage ring every day. The rest of the time was to continue to organize and comprehend Taoist GE's inherited memories. After all, this inherited memory was not only the purple firmament sword scripture, but also many secret techniques. Even if he didn't have the conditions to cultivate now, he could familiarize himself with it in advance and broaden his knowledge at the same time. In addition to this, he also had to accompany Jiang Daodu to train her assassination skills. The little girl's strength was also improving by leaps and bounds. Just like that, another month passed in the blink of an eye. New Moon Era 95, September 10th, late at night, 2 moons hung in the sky. Jiang Xi ended his closed-door cultivation. Without telling anyone, he flew straight to the wilderness. The wilderness near Pak Sun province was mostly plains and hills. He flew for more than 500 kilometers before he found a small mountain that was more than 300 meters tall. Jiang Xi stood in the air and looked down at the small mountain. This was the target of his sword test today. He wanted to test his current strength. Before he tested the sword, he first looked at the experience panel, cultivation, spirit nurturing, late stage 26701888200, Dao technique, Gale intent, 108-201/500-000, sword intent, 117-851/1000000, amplitude, 3, 121 deduction. 10,000 experience points per time cultivation method, purple firmament sword scripture, peacock visualization experience points, 954834, after more than a month of improvement. His cultivation had reached late-stage spirit nurturing. He had comprehended more than 20% of the Gale intent. His sword intent had also increased by more than 10%. Let's see how strong I am now. First sword. Jiang Xi pulled out the Abyss Condensation Sword with a swish. His spiritual power surged as he suddenly swung the sword. The huge sword light suddenly landed on the top of the small mountain. Boom! It directly exploded. The top of the mountain was blown away, and the small mountain was 10 meters shorter. Second sword. He swung the sword again. This sword condensed the gale intent. The sword light was accompanied by the whistling of the gale as it slashed the small mountain. Crash! The small mountain trembled slightly as if a small earthquake had occurred. It was shorter by another 50 meters. Third sword. This time it was a sword with the sword intent. The sword light condensed with an inexplicable Tao rhyme. It was like the King of Swords as it slashed directly at the small mountain. Rumble, the 300-meter tall small mountain collapsed with a loud bang, and gravel flew everywhere. After 3 swords, Jiang Xi had a clear understanding of his own strength. The sword intent's increase in combat strength is indeed stronger than the gale intent. It only increased by 10%, but it has greatly increased my strength. Although I haven't really fought with a golden core cultivator, with my current strength, I'm definitely not weaker than an early-stage golden core cultivator. Last time in the Fengdu secret realm, his actual combat strength had actually barely touched the threshold of golden core. But it was only barely. If he encountered a real golden core cultivator, he would still be defeated. And now, after more than a month of improvement, his combat strength had finally completely stepped into the golden core level. Chapter 200. Jiang Xi was confident that he should have surpassed Xian Tian now. The world's #1 powerhouse. He smiled. If he didn't count those hidden old fellows from the reclusive families, he should be. He looked at the quaint ring on his left hand. Compared to the increase in strength, the refining progress of the storage ring was a little slow. After all, it was used by Taoist Gu, a Tao integration powerhouse, and it was not an ordinary spirit artifact. It will probably take another 2 or 3 months to complete the refining. Jiang Xi shook his head. He was not in a hurry. With the storage ring, it would be more convenient to go out at most. Then, he turned around and went home. To think that he would destroy an entire mountain on this trip. After returning home, Jiang Xi did not continue to cultivate in seclusion. Instead, he stared at the 2 moons in the sky for a long time on the rooftop of his house. The 4th revival of spiritual energy, the reason why he chose to end his seclusion cultivation at this time. In addition to his own strength, the most important reason was that the 4th revival of spiritual energy was coming. Last time in the Moon Palace, Taoist Gu had said that after the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array was completely unlocked, Earth would welcome another revival of spiritual energy. Now that 2 months had passed, the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array was almost completely unlocked. Should I tell Xian Tian and the others? Jiang Xi was thinking about this problem. The 4th revival of spiritual energy was a great opportunity. There was also detailed information about the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array in Taoist Ge's inherited memories. Although he could not comprehend this array formation yet, it did not prevent him from knowing the power of this array formation. How high was the concentration of spiritual energy on Earth 10,000 years ago? Jiang Xi had no way of knowing the exact amount. However, there was one thing that could be proven. Earth was very prosperous at that time. Taoist Gu used the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array to suppress Yin Tiansheng, who was also a Tao integration powerhouse. Tao integration was the highest realm of cultivators. They could even cross the universe with their bodies. However, under the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array, 2 Tao integration powerhouses were killed. This array formation could not be said to be weak. And the source of energy for this array was all the spiritual energy of Earth and the Moon. One could imagine how enormous this spiritual energy was. Once released, so much spiritual energy would definitely far exceed the 3rd revival of spiritual energy. However, when the Heaven and Earth Spirit Lock Array was unlocked, there was one thing that was different from the third revival of Spiritual Aura. It was the release of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth without any warning. Unlike before, when he could detect the abnormal changes in the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in advance. That was why Jiang Xi fell into deep thought. It was impossible for him to monopolize such a fortuitous opportunity. After all, the spirit chi had to spread between heaven and earth. As a warrior of Great Xia, he was naturally concerned about the future of Great Xia's martial arts world. If everyone knew about it in advance and was prepared, they would be able to seize this opportunity. At that time, the martial arts world of Great Xia would definitely become even more powerful. The problem was that he had to find a reasonable excuse to remind Xian Tian and the others. Otherwise, it would be easy to raise suspicions. How did he know all this? After thinking for a moment, Jiang Xi shook his head. Let's keep it simple. The more complicated it is, the more suspicious it will be. He dialed Xian Tian's number. Jiang Xi. It's 2:00 in the morning. Xian Tian's voice was heard. Jiang Xi looked at the time. Sure enough, it was only 2:00 in the morning. It seemed that he had been too focused on cultivating and had neglected the time. Jiang Xi coughed. President, I have a discovery that I feel like telling you. Recently, when I was cultivating, I felt that the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the surroundings seemed to have increased a little. Wait for a moment. Don't hang up. Xian Tian's tone was a little solemn. It seemed that he attached great importance to Jiang Xi's reaction. Jiang Xi was not in a hurry. He guessed that Xian Tian should want to cultivate and experience it himself. After a moment, Xian Tian's voice was heard again. Jiang Xi, are you sure you didn't sense it wrong? I just cultivated, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth didn't seem to have changed. It should be right. After all, I'm a person who scored full marks in martial arts. My perception of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth is stronger than others. Xian Tian could not refute this reason. I will pay attention to this matter in the next few days so that everyone can be prepared. Xian Tian did not take Jiang Xi's reminder lightly. In his understanding, Jiang Xi was steady and cautious. Generally, he would not easily express any opinions. Something that could make Jiang Xi take the initiative to remind him in the middle of the night must be taken seriously. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Xi felt a sense of relief. The next step was to wait patiently for the fourth spiritual chi revival. However, before that, there was a more important matter. That was Jiang Daodu's problem. On the night of the third spiritual chi revival, Jiang Daodu had heard someone chanting in a low voice and then fell into a deep sleep. When she woke up, her strength had jumped from level F to level C. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the villa's balcony, thinking carefully until the sun rose on the horizon. A cool breeze brushed past his face. It seemed ordinary. However, the corners of Jiang Xi's mouth curled up slightly. Without opening his eyes, he reached out and grabbed a cold and slender wrist. In her cold little hand was a black dagger without any luster. It was very sharp and was an A-grade alloy weapon. Not bad. Your assassination can threaten level A martial artists. Jiang Xi opened his eyes and chuckled. Jiang Daodu wrinkled her nose and said, but I still can't get close to you. Do your best. I believe that sooner or later, you will be able to do it. Perfunctory. Hey. Jiang Xi scratched her nose. Then he said, I'll fulfill your wish. In the next few days, you have to stay by my side. Stay by your side. Even when sleeping or going to the toilet. Jiang Daodu's eyes were bright and full of energy. In the end, Jiang Xi was defeated by Jiang Daodu. Apart from the two things that Jiang Daodu mentioned, they were indeed staying by each other's side. Especially when it came to cultivation, they had to be together. Soon, 5 days passed. New Moon Era 95, September 15th. on the night of the full moon. On the balcony of Villa 92 in Tongtian district. Jiang Xi and Jiang Daodu were both sitting cross-legged, quietly cultivating. He had already told Jiang Daodu about the recovery of spirit aura. Jiang Daodu also put away her playful attitude and treated it seriously. For the past few days, they had been cultivating like this every night. The moon was in the middle of the sky. The two moons were like silver plates, hanging side by side in the night sky. It was as if the two of them were sitting side by side. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. Somehow, he felt that some changes had occurred between heaven and earth. It's here. Yes. Jiang Daodu also nodded vigorously. Suddenly, a change occurred. The two silver plate-like moons instantly became 100 times larger, covering more than half of the sky. The night was as bright as day. The two Guanghan palaces, one old and one new, also appeared at the same time. Yes, yes, faintly, a woman's soft singing voice sounded between heaven and earth. This time, everyone heard it. The whole world was in an uproar. Could it be that someone was singing on the moon? Chapter 201. Last time, only Jiang Dudu heard the chant, but this time, everyone in the world heard it. At this moment, although Jiang Xi was also shocked, he was not in the mood to pay attention to this. Because when the woman's chanting voice sounded, Jiang Dudu nodded and fell into a deep sleep. Jiang Xi did not wake her up, but carefully observed. When the woman's chanting voice lasted for about 10 seconds. Clearly visible spiritual energy condensed like mist, pouring down from one of the moons that had become 100 times larger. Like a tide of spiritual energy, the waves surged and swept across the world in an instant. This is... Jiang Xi opened his eyes wide. He found that, accompanied by the tide of spiritual energy, there was an incomparably pure spiritual energy of heaven and earth, like small snakes, gathered from all over Jiang Dudu's body. And Jiang Dudu's body was also rapidly becoming stronger. However, in just a minute, Jiang Dudu's body stopped changing. But the incomparably pure spiritual energy of heaven and earth was still gathering in Jiang Dudu's body. What is the origin of Daodu? Jiang Xi could not help but ask himself. After observing for more than 10 minutes, Jiang Xi confirmed that Jiang Dudu would not change anymore, then he breathed a sigh of relief and began to focus on his own cultivation. Purple Cloud Sword Scripture. Riverward began to circulate his cultivation method. In an instant, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged like a tide, forming a spiritual energy mist cover that pervaded around him. So strong, many times stronger than the third recovery of spiritual energy. Jiang Xi was shocked. Of course, this was also related to his cultivation technique. The Purple Cloud Sword Scripture was also the top cultivation technique inheritance in the Universe Tao Alliance. The efficiency of cultivation was, of course, abnormal. Qi drawing. Refine. Jiang Xi began to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth that gathered around him. As the qi drawing was refined, the spiritual energy in his body became more and more. However, he did not condense this spiritual energy into spiritual power. Using the experience panel to increase his strength was the hard way. A minute later, he felt the accumulated spiritual energy in his body. It's about time. Begin the upgrade. Increase 1000 cultivation experience. Increase 1000 true meaning of Gale experience points. Increased by 1000 sword intent experience. The total amount of spirit power in his body began to increase. The comprehension of the two true intents of the Tao continuously appeared in his mind. In less than a breath's time, the upgrade process was over. Then, Jiang Xi continued to absorb and refine qi, accumulating spiritual qi energy and improving again. Almost every minute, he could level up once. An hour later, his cultivation reached the bottleneck of the spirit nurturing stage. Cultivation base, spirit nurturing, late stage 8820088200, he had the experience of encountering a bottleneck during the third recovery of spiritual power. This time, Jiang Xi didn't waste any time to think about the bottleneck. Instead, he continued to accumulate spiritual energy and used it all to upgrade his Gale intent and Sword intent. In 1 minute, he could accumulate 3,000 points of spiritual energy. This was equivalent to 3 inferior condensing essence pills, which was very extravagant. Without stopping for even a single moment, his cultivation was rising by a little with every passing minute. Jiang Xi was working hard to improve, and Jiang Dudu was sleeping. Therefore, he didn't notice that there was a subtle light shining between Jiang Dudu's eyebrows. It seemed to be breathing, swallowing and exhaling the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. In the mist-like tide of spiritual energy, it was undetectable. The recovery of spiritual power this time came suddenly and ended suddenly. 6 hours later, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth poured down from the moon with the broken Guanghan Palace. In an instant, it stopped abruptly, like a pot of water that had been poured out. And the spiritual energy of heaven and earth on earth was 10 times richer than before. Yes, 10 times. Jiang Xi clearly confirmed this data through the experience value panel. He was a little unsatisfied. 2 more hours, and the data on the panel would be much better. Unfortunately, it was a little short. Cultivation base, spirit nurturing, late stage 8820088200, Tao technique, Gale intent, 500,000/500,000, Sword intent, 749,861 million. Amplitude, 14. For 98 deduction, 10,000 experience points per time. Cultivation method, Purple Cloud Sword scripture, Peacock visualization experience value, 0, cultivation base, Tao technique, only the sword intent was not perfected. Ha ha ha. Jiang Xi laughed wildly, which was rare. Regardless of the strength, with the current strength data on the panel, who could beat him? Before the fourth recovery of spiritual power, his Gale intent was only completed more than 20%, and the sword intent was only more than 10%. With this, his combat power was comparable to the early gold core stage. Now, the Gale intent had been perfected, and the sword intent's comprehension level had exceeded 70%. The improvement of these two Tao techniques had made his strength have a qualitative change. 498 times the spiritual power amplitude, a unit of spiritual power strength, was more than 14 times the original. Not to mention, his cultivation base had also reached the peak of the spirit nurturing stage. His actual combat power had increased more than 10 times. Early gold core stage. Jiang Xi smiled softly, full of confidence. Huh? Brother, did I fall asleep again? At this time, Jiang Daodu woke up. She was sleeping soundly. Just now, Jiang Xi's laughter did not wake her up. You slept very soundly. Jiang Xi smiled. Well, I heard someone whispering last night, and this time the voice was much clearer than last time. Did you hear it? Jiang Daodu asked slightly nervously. Jiang Xi nodded. I think everyone should have heard it this time. Don't worry, I also paid attention to observation. There is nothing strange in your body. You can cultivate in peace in the future. With that, Jiang Xi rubbed her head again. That's good. Jiang Daodu beamed with joy. Then she checked her strength and was stunned for a moment. She exclaimed, Brother, I reached the A level. From the top C-level martial artist to the A-level martial artist. This was somewhat beyond Jiang Xi's expectations. He thought that Jiang Daodu could take this opportunity to reach the B level. She actually became an A-level martial artist directly. A 16-year-old A-level martial artist. And it was just sleeping. Jiang Xi took a deep breath. He felt that he had come to the wrong place. He was really not the main character, however, Jiang Daodu was only pleasantly surprised by this improvement. She was not as panicked as last time. This was because Jiang Xi was by her side. Even if the sky fell, she would not be afraid. The two of them got up and went downstairs. Just like before, they prepared to eat breakfast and take a walk. It seemed that the recovery of spiritual power this time was a very ordinary thing for the two of them. In the Tongtian district, the vegetation was lush and the environment was beautiful. The sky is bluer, and the air is fresher. It's as if the whole world has been reborn. Jiang Daodu opened her arms as if she was embracing the world. Jiangxi smiled faintly. After this night, these were not the only simple changes that had happened. Just now, when he passed by an old tree that was close to 100 years old, he felt an extremely subtle spiritual aura from the old tree. If there was an opportunity, he might be able to embark on the path of cultivation. After cultivating for another 1,000 or 10,000 years, he would be able to become a tree spirit. Of course, it was not the ghost tree spirit that absorbed the gloomy aura in the Fengdu secret realm. Chapter 202. When they passed by Tongtian District Villa No. 2, they met Lu Shan. Lu Shan stood upstairs and greeted them. Jiang Xi, you siblings went out so early. Didn't you consolidate your understanding? Obviously, he had also just finished cultivating. Many of the higher-ups and elites of the Great Xia Kingdom's martial arts world had received the news of the Spirit Qi revival in advance. However, only a few people knew that the news was provided by Jiang Xi. Uncle Lu, congratulations. Jiang Xi didn't answer the question and cupped his hands to Lu Shan. Ha, I can't hide anything from you, kid. Lu Shan jumped down and came to their side. As the saying goes, people are in high spirits when faced with happy events. Just now, Jiang Xi noticed that Lu Shan's expression was not right and was hiding a surprise. He scanned with his spiritual sense. Sure enough, Lu Shan had broken through and reached Class A. Lu Shan reached Class B 3 years ago. Later, during the third Spirit Qi revival, he was stuck at the Class B bottleneck and couldn't break through again because of his aptitude. Last night's Spirit Qi tide finally allowed him to break through and become an Class A martial artist. Uncle Lu, you have to continue to work hard. I'm also an Class A martial artist now. Jiang Dudu suddenly said. The smile on Lu Shan's face froze. He felt that whatever he ate today wouldn't be delicious. Jiang Xi glared at Jiang Dudu. How could she hit her senior like that? Uncle Lu, don't listen to Daoda's nonsense. She also worked hard to cultivate, Jiang Xi consoled. Lu Shan suffered another blow. His mind was full of Jiang Xi's words. Worked hard to cultivate, worked hard to cultivate, worked hard, a 16-year-old girl. No matter how hard she worked, how many years had she worked hard for? He had worked hard for 40 years. Jiang Xi and Jiang Dudu looked at each other and communicated with their eyes. Jiang Dudu's meaning was obvious. Didn't you say that you don't have to hide your strength in the future? Jiang Xi couldn't refute. There was indeed no need to hide. With his current strength, unless someone ate a bear's heart and leopard's gall, no one would dare to have any ideas about Jiang Dudu. Even if someone really had bad intentions, he would definitely slap them to death. Lu Shan took a while to recover. He shook his head helplessly. You two little perverts. He refrained from asking how much Jiang Xi had improved, fearing that he would suffer a greater blow. In order to comfort Lu Shan's broken heart, Jiang Xi and Jiang Daodu had a free breakfast at Lu Shan's house. During this time, Jiang Xi and Lu Shan exchanged some insights on the cultivation of the A-class realm. Although it was said to be an exchange, it was actually Jiang Xi who was talking. He told Lu Shan about his understanding of the A-class realm in detail. Jiang Xi didn't feel that this was a waste of time, because when he first embarked on the path of martial arts, Lu Shan gave him a lot of help. Repaying kindness was a principle that Jiang Xi had always abided by. After staying at Lu Shan's house for more than 3 hours, he left with Jiang Dudu. On the way back. Brother, it seems that the world's martial arts world is going to have a big change in this spirit energy revival. Jiang Dudu calmly analyzed. No matter how it changes, as long as we are strong enough, we don't have to be afraid of these changes. Jiang Xi smiled indifferently. He understood what Jiang Dudu meant. Like Lu Shan, there were definitely many people who became A-class martial artists with the help of the fourth spirit energy revival. In addition, the number of spirit accumulation stage martial artists would also increase significantly. Yes. Work hard on your cultivation. Jiang Dudu laughed. These words were not said casually. When the two returned home, they went to cultivate separately. Jiang Xi still went to the same place, the underground training room. He didn't immediately go to cultivate, but turned on the computer in the training room to search for news and events that happened after the fourth spirit energy revival. Who is the woman singing in a low voice in the Moon Palace? Chang Yi? Or is it just an auditory hallucination? There is a change in the underground of Chang'an City, and the geese flying in the air fell to their deaths. At midnight yesterday, the old tree bore fruit. Someone picked it and ate it, becoming extremely strong. In the ruins of an ancient tower in the wilderness of Peacock Country, a sigh was heard. In the Holy Alliance, a colorful brilliance suddenly appeared in the Millennium Holy City. One news after another, some were exaggerated, and some were surprising. After reading these, Jiang Xi sat cross-legged with a thoughtful look on his face. What made him feel strange was that he didn't see any news about monsters. The fourth spirit energy revival was such a big event, it was impossible for monsters to not have any changes. The hostility between monsters and humans seemed to be irreconcilable, so it was better to be vigilant. Jiang Xi was now one of the top few people in the human martial arts world on Earth. Compared to the past, he now had a new perspective on the issue of monsters. In terms of high-end strength, human martial artists are actually not weaker than monsters. In fact, they are even stronger. The main difference is below the level of spirit accumulation. The number of martial artists compared to the huge monster horde in the wilderness is too big, dozens or even hundreds of times. This is also the main reason why humans have been at a disadvantage. If a super powerful fighter appears in the human race who can easily crush all monsters, this situation might change. Jiang Xi shook his head. He didn't have the confidence to do this. The world was so big, but monsters occupied most of the living space. Humans had the hidden heritage of the hidden families, but monsters were also hiding something. For example, the dragon python in the secret realm of E Mountain and the unknown existence in the lower reaches of Xian and River were not simple. Different situations call for different measures. As long as the high-end strength of human martial artists is strong enough, humans will not be in a crisis of extinction. I wonder how many people in the martial arts world will reach the golden core stage this time. Xian Tian, Li Baibai, Hermit Yuan Qing, and the powerhouses of the hidden families. Jiang Xi guessed that someone might have broken through the bottleneck yesterday and become a cultivator of the golden core stage. Even if they didn't break through last night, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth had increased tenfold, which was more suitable for cultivation. With these people's heritage, they would break through sooner or later. Thinking of this, Jiang Xi smiled. Although he hadn't reached the golden core stage, he wasn't afraid of these people. Next, I should think of a way to form the golden core. Forming the golden core was a process. The essence was to improve the quality of the spiritual power by refining it. Finally, it would complete the transformation and form the golden core. The higher the degree of refining the spiritual power, the higher the success rate of forming the golden core. For example, taking the core consolidating pill was to use its medicinal power to refine the spiritual power. The spiritual power refined by this method was not pure. Even if the golden core was successfully formed, the spiritual power would be very impure. He definitely wouldn't use the core consolidating pill to form the golden core. This was the worst method. If he wanted to cultivate, he would naturally cultivate the best method. In Daoist GE's inherited memories, there were many methods to form the golden core. The best method of forming the golden core that he knew so far was recorded in the Purple Cloud Sword scripture. The 100 refinement method is to refine the golden core by 1,000 hammers. 1,000 hammers is 1 refinement. The spiritual consciousness is used as a hammer to refine the spiritual power. When the spiritual power is refined 100 times, it will transform to the extreme. At that time, the golden core formed will be the best. Chapter 203. Jiang Ci thought of the Purple Cloud Sword Scripture's core formation method. Let's see how difficult it is first. He needed to control his spiritual sense through the 100 refinement method seals and let his spiritual sense be like a hammer, tempering the spiritual power in his body over and over again. Spiritual power is like a piece of iron full of impurities. I want to use the hammer of spiritual sense to forge it into a sharp long sword. With this thought in mind, he kept making seals, and the spiritual sense in his mind began to slowly turn. Spiritual sense like a hammer. He tried hard to control it, hammering the spiritual power. Clang! 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 In his mind, there seemed to be the sound of iron hammering. For the whole day, he only completed 100 hammering. Based on this calculation, it will take about 3 years to complete the 100 refinement. Jiang Ci frowned slightly, then unfolded again. 3 years was not slow. After all, many cultivators could not reach the golden core stage in their lifetime. Jiang Ci planned to slowly grind, hammering 100 times a day. In addition, he also planned to take time to go to the wilderness to hunt monsters and harvest experience points. Because last night, he used up all his experience points, leaving nothing. Experience points, 0, this was the first time he used up all his experience points after becoming a martial artist. After having a clear cultivation plan, Jiang Ci began to calm down and cultivate in seclusion, not contacting anyone. He planned to develop steadily and quietly until he reached the golden core stage. As the saying goes, plans are not as good as changes. He had only been in seclusion for half a month, and an accident happened. New Moon Year 95, September 30th. The weather was clear, and the autumn air was refreshing. The huge Pak Sun province was surrounded by a 100-meter-high city wall, located on the plains. Inside the city wall was the home of mankind, the last place to live. Outside the city wall was the monster's paradise, the wilderness. In the 100 years since the recovery of Spirit Aura, Pak Sun province had been attacked by many monster tides, but so far, no monster had broken through this city. It sounded like a very praiseworthy thing. In fact, it was the tragedy of mankind. Because monsters were everywhere, ordinary people could only be trapped in small cities for the rest of their lives. Only martial artists had the strength to step out of the city and roam the wilderness. If they were not careful, they would be in danger of losing their lives. And Pak Sun province had paid a price of blood and tears to prevent the monsters from invading their city. Every time the beast tide attacked the city, countless ordinary soldiers, large numbers of military warriors, and ordinary warriors would lose their lives. Humans have been suffering for monsters for a long time. On this day, about 200 kilometers away from the north gate of Pak Sun province. In the wilderness, there was a mountain ridge that looked like the back of a dragon. It was bent across the wilderness. An environment that was shrouded in fog all year round was a warning to the world that this place was very dangerous. Although the secret territory of Dragon Spine Mountain was very close to Pak Sun province, the martial artists who wandered in the wilderness never came close. After 100 years, this place had become a paradise for monsters. Under the night sky, a hoarse laughter came from the fog-shrouded Dragon Spine Mountain. Ha ha ha! Golden Core. I've finally reached Jindan. A frightening aura spread throughout the area. The monsters that lived here, even if they were grade A, were trembling and did not dare to move. Whoosh! A terrifying 1,000-legged monster flew out from the fog and stood in the air. Its huge body that was 100 meters long shrank by 10 times in the blink of an eye. The aura of the golden figure became even stronger. If there were martial artists here, they would be able to recognize that this was an ironback golden centipede, the king of the centipede monsters. After 100 years of cultivation, I've finally reached Jindan. I, the golden centipede, am now the strongest monster of the demon clan. Ha ha ha. The ironback golden centipede laughed wildly and spread out its spiritual consciousness. All monsters within 100 miles of this place, gather. Today, I will slaughter a human city as a form of celebration. Boom! Under the 2 moons in the sky, thousands of monsters gathered in the boundless wilderness. Millions of monsters gathered to form an ocean. Since the recovery of spirit chi, the strongest beast tide on earth had been formed. Nature was more particular about the strong being respected. All the monsters had submitted to this golden core stage ironback golden centipede. Under its command, the beast tide moved toward Pak Sun province, which was closest to the Dragon Spine Mountain arcane realm. The satellites of the Daxia kingdom soon discovered this abnormal situation. The personnel in charge of monitoring the area quickly reported it. However, reporting to the higher-ups required time and process. Even if they took the express route, it would take at least 5 minutes. It would take that long to wait for the orders from the higher-ups. Moreover, it was late at night. The speed of mobilizing the army and martial artists would be slower than during the day. With the speed of the beast tide, it would take at most 20 minutes to cover the distance of 200 kilometers. The situation in Pak Sun province was precarious. Pak Sun province, Genten Budakan Tongtian district. At this time, Jiang Xi was seriously practicing the 100 refinements technique to reach the golden core stage as soon as possible. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, his tactical communications watch vibrated violently. This was a notification that would only appear in an emergency. Jiang Xi immediately answered the call. Huang Kuan's anxious voice came from the other side. Jiang Xi, the beast tide is gathering in the Dragon Spine Mountain arcane realm. It's almost Pak Sun province. It's very urgent. Go to the north gate of Pak Sun province as soon as possible. Okay. Jiang Xi did not waste any time. He grabbed the profound condensation sword and left the training room. Jiang Daodu was alerted by Jiang Xi's movement. She came down from the balcony on the 3rd floor. Brother. The beast tide is attacking the city. I have to go and help. I'm going too. You stay at home. Don't go anywhere. Jiang Xi said in a commanding tone. His expression was unprecedentedly stern. After saying that, he flew up and disappeared into the night sky in an instant. Jiang Daodu was a little disappointed. She thought that after reaching Class A, she would be able to follow in Jiang Xi's footsteps. Now, she realized that she was still very far away from Jiang Xi. She understood Jiang Xi's words. In some large-scale beast tides, even Class A martial artists could lose their lives. Moreover, the path of assassination that she cultivated was not suitable for fighting on the battlefield. At that moment, someone knocked on the door of the villa. Jiang Daodu ran over to open the door. She realized that it was Lu Shan and Qin Yuan. Both of them were fully armed. Where's Jiang Xi? The two of them asked. My brother is already on his way. Jiang Daodu replied. Then you must stay at home. Don't go anywhere. The two of them came quickly and left quickly. Before they left, they both reminded her. Jiang Daodu sighed softly. They both treated her like a child. However, she was also a Class A martial artist. However, she also understood that she could not cause trouble for Jiang Xi. However, she really wanted to know the current situation of the beast tide. She was worried about Jiang Xi's safety. Right, the military sent someone to open up a satellite channel last time. Jiang Daodu's eyes lit up. She ran to open the computer and entered the dedicated satellite channel. As Jiang Xi's identity was different, their family's network had been open to the highest level of access. They could see a lot of information that ordinary people did not know. Such a big matter would definitely have a special news broadcast. Chapter 204. As expected, Jiang Dudu soon saw the live satellite feed outside Pak Sun province. In the feed, the beast tide was like a sea. There were all kinds of monsters, including many A-class and B-class monsters. What's that? Jiang Dudu's expression changed. In the image, she suddenly saw a golden figure with 1,000 feet flying in the sky and disappearing in a flash. Because the beast tide on the ground was too loud, very few people paid attention to the situation in the sky. In addition, the golden figure was very fast in the dark. If one's eyesight was poor, they would not have noticed it at all. However, Jiang Dudu was an assassin, so she was good at observing the details. She immediately noticed that the monster flying in the sky did not have wings. It was not a flying monster. It's an iron-backed golden centipede in the golden core stage. Brother! Don't let anything happen to you. Jiang Xi had explained the realms of cultivators to her in detail, so she knew how to identify those in the golden core stage. Jiang Dudu knew very well that Jiang Xi had not formed his golden core yet. Although Jiang Xi had told her that he was not afraid of those in the golden core stage, who knew what would happen if they really encountered one. She immediately wanted to use her tactical communications watch to call Jiang Xi and ask Jiang Xi to come back. However, at that moment, she saw Jiang Xi's figure on the satellite feed. He was flying toward the iron-backed golden centipede in the sky. Brother! Jiang Dudu became even more nervous and stopped dialing. In just 10 breaths, Jiang Xi arrived at the north gate of Pak Sun province. At that moment, the Northern Mountain Army's military camp had entered a state of war. All the soldiers and martial artists had gathered. The military camp's back was against the tall city wall. There were huge cannons on the other 3 sides, ready to fire at any time. Rumble. Under the night sky, the ground was shaking. On the horizon in the distance, a black wave of beasts was sweeping over like a black wave. A golden core stage monster. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. He immediately noticed the iron-backed golden centipede. Buzz buzz buzz. However, at this moment, Jiang Xi's tactical communications watch rang again. After the call was connected, Huang Kun said anxiously, Jiang Xi, we just saw from the satellite image that there is a golden core stage monster. Get out of there. Rest assured, Elder Huang. Jiang Xi hung up the phone with a smile. Before he finished, his tactical communications watch rang again. This time, it was Xian Tian calling. Jiang Xi, a golden core great demon is not someone you can deal with. Don't be impulsive. I'm on my way. Remember, your life is the most important. Xian Tian's tone was unusually serious. Thank you, head gym master. Jiang Xi shook his head. He really couldn't back out this time. If he didn't do anything, a golden core monster could destroy half of Pak Sun province in an instant. At this juncture, apart from him, no one else could stop this golden core greater demon. This is a good opportunity to see how my combat power compares to a real golden core cultivator. Jiang Xi was full of fighting spirit at this moment. The data on the interface was only theoretical. The actual strength would depend on his performance. Whoosh! Under the gaze of everyone in the Northern Mountains Army, Jiang Xi flew toward the iron-backed golden centipede. The wind was strong, and the sword was cold. It's Jiang Xi. Zhao Yan, the commander of the Northern Mountains Army, saw Jiang Xi's figure. His eyes were full of hope. With Jiang Xi around, he was relieved. A spirit-nurturing expert was enough to ensure that the city gate of Pak Sun province would not fall. Whoosh! At this moment, another figure rushed from Pak Sun province and arrived at the Northern Mountains Army's North Gate barracks. The figure stood still. It was a kind-looking old man. "Greetings, Elder Han." Zhao Yan quickly bowed. The person who came was Han Wenju, the spirit-nurturing expert of the Han family in Pak Sun province. Han Wenju waved his hand. "No need to be so polite. This time, I will guard this place with Jiang Ci to ensure the safety of Pak Sun province. By the way, where is Jiang Ci?" "He has already gone to meet them." As expected of a young man. So combative. "Let me take a look first." Han Wenju stood on a high ground and looked down. When he saw the black mass of the beast tide approaching Pak Sun province, his face became serious. The scale of the beast tide was too large. There were more than 1,000,000 monsters. This was definitely the largest beast tide since the recovery of spiritual qi, and it was also the strongest one. Then, Han Wenju saw Jiang Ci's figure flying under the night sky, and the expression on his face relaxed slightly. With Jiang Ci and him, two spirit-nurturing cultivators, no matter how strong the beast tide was, they could ensure that Pak Sun province would not be breached. But in the next moment, he caught a glimpse of the iron-backed golden centipede that was flying at high speed. Golden Core Stage. Han Wenju's face changed drastically. "Jiang Ci, come back quickly!" he roared. But at this time, Jiang Ci was only 10,000 meters away from the iron-backed golden centipede. Both sides stopped at the same time and stood still in the air. "Human, you are in the golden core stage." The iron-backed golden centipede spoke in human language. Its hoarse voice was like thunder, echoing across the land. This scene was also captured by foreign satellites and quickly spread around the world. Suddenly, the world was in an uproar. What did they see? What did they hear? A centipede with a length of 10 meters could fly and talk. How terrifying! The people of the Xia kingdom were the most familiar with this. This kind of situation had long appeared in myths and legends. They knew that this centipede was no longer an ordinary monster, but a demon. Under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, Jiang Ci smiled faintly and said, "Can't I fly if I'm not in the golden core stage? How dare you? Then today's massacre will begin with you." The iron-backed golden centipede laughed maniacally. Its monstrous aura suddenly rose in the night sky. Even from 10,000 meters away, one could feel its powerful murderous aura. Roar! The iron-backed golden centipede let out a thunderous roar, and golden flames spewed out of its mouth. Jiang Ci was not afraid at all. Under everyone's worried gaze, he unsheathed his sword and instantly condensed a huge sword like gale true intent. This was the sword of speed. Accompanied by the gale, the sword light was as fast as lightning. It violently collided with the iron-backed golden centipede's golden flames. Boom boom boom. In the night sky, there was a violent explosion. The blazing flames lit up the land. So powerful. They are actually evenly matched. Han Wenju and Zhao Yan were shocked. They were not shocked by the iron-backed golden centipede, but by Jiang Ci's strength that was beyond their imagination. A spirit nourishment stage against a golden core stage. At this moment, the earth trembled even more violently. The beast tide was coming. The two of them could only retract their attention from the sky. Since Jiang Ci had blocked the golden core stage demon, then they could focus on dealing with the beast tide. "Aim at these beasts for me, and blast them to smithereens." Zhao Yan mustered up his strength and roared loudly throughout the entire military camp. Boom boom boom. The giant cannons roared in unison. The Vulcan cannon shells with flames fell into the midst of the beast tide and exploded with a loud bang. As long as the beasts were not above Class C, they were instantly blasted into pieces by the power of the giant cannons. After each explosion, there would be hundreds of beasts in the surrounding area that would lose their lives. However, this number was nothing compared to the million-strong beast tide. Chapter 205. The beast tide continued to rush toward the north gate of Pak Sun province. Among the beast tide, the Grade A and Grade B beasts caused the most damage to the Northern Mountain Army. Leave 3 Grade A martial artists to guard the camp. The rest of the Grade A martial artists, follow me into the beast tide and kill the Grade B beasts. Han Wenju shouted. His white-haired appearance did not affect his courage as a martial artist. Then, he led 10 Grade A martial artists, including He Changxing, Chen Yuan, and Lu Shan, out of the camp and into the dangerous beast tide. At the same time, in the night sky, the ironback golden centipede was also shocked. It did not expect that its best move after reaching the golden core stage would be blocked by a spirit-gathering stage cultivator. He must be the top genius of the human race. It was very excited and full of murderous intent. It danced with its 1,000 legs and hundreds of golden rays shot toward Jiang Xi. The power of each golden light was so great that it could easily kill a cultivator of the spirit nourishment stage. Jiang Xi was expressionless. His body flickered in the air, and the profound stasis sword swept across the sky. The profound stasis sword met the golden rays head-on. Clang! 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 All the attacks were blocked easily. So this is the power of an early-stage golden core stage monster. Jiang Xi shook his head gently. Human, you are too arrogant. The ironback golden centipede was enraged by Jiang Xi's words. It had just reached the golden core stage and thought that it was the most powerful monster in the demon clan. However, it was looked down upon by a human in the late-stage spirit-gathering stage. Let's stop here. Jiang Xi shook his head gently. He had lost interest in the battle. It was not challenging at all. It was boring. The ironback golden centipede was even angrier. Who was the real golden core stage cultivator? Roar! It looked up to the sky and roared. Its 10-meter-long 1,000-legged body shrunk again by 10 times, becoming only 1 meter long. Suddenly, its aura became even more ferocious. Its body seemed to be covered in golden flames. Jiang Xi's expression did not change. He focused on the profound stasis sword. Sword intent. An inexplicable Taoist rhyme condensed on the sword. The sword turned into a shocking sword shadow. Although the sword shadow was less than 10 meters long, which was dozens of times smaller than Xian Tian's saber intent, its power was at least 10 times greater. This was the difference in sword intent level. The higher the realm, the higher the degree of condensation of true intent. What move is this? The ironback golden centipede felt a strong sense of threat. Why should I be afraid of a mere spirit nourishment stage human? The ironback golden centipede once again spewed out a powerful golden flame. At the same time, it also flew over in the air, wanting to use the tyrannical body of the golden core stage to directly kill Riverward. Slash! But right at this time, Riverward gave a light cry, the abyss condensing sword slashing out. Puff! The sword shadow formed by the sword will seem to be able to cut through everything. It swept past the golden flames spewed out by the ironback golden centipede. The ferocious golden flames suddenly vanished into thin air. God! The ironback golden centipede, which had already closed in with the ferocious golden flames, was shocked. That was its strongest attack. Even an early golden core stage cultivator would be seriously injured if they were hit by it. But now, it was destroyed by the sword shadow. However, the sword shadow did not disappear. It continued to slash at it. Danger! Roar! It roared again. Its 1,000 legs danced violently. Its body emitted a layer of golden light. That was its strongest defense. The sword shadow slashed down. Crack! The golden light suddenly dissipated, and the monstrous ferocious flames and the terrifying aura that spread across the land disappeared. You killed an early golden core stage ironback golden centipede. Experience points plus 1,000. In the air, 2 half-meter-long golden shadows were falling down. Jiang Xi took a step forward and caught the corpse of the iron-backed golden centipede. Such a big centipede. It's good stuff. Casually killing a golden core great demon was nothing in Riverward's eyes. That was the truth. That was because he had only used 70% of his combat power. His current strength could be divided into 3 levels. The true intent of Gale gave him 10 times the spiritual power amplitude. That was only half of his combat power. But at the current level of the sword intent, the spirit energy amplification provided was more than 14 times, a level higher. However, the true intent of sword was only 70% of his combat power. Only when the true intent of Gale and true intent of sword were used at the same time, it was his full strength. That was why he was so relaxed. Unlike Riverward's relaxed attitude, at this moment, people all over the world were stunned. The battle that happened in just a few minutes was broadcasted live by other countries' satellites and spread to all parts of the world. A powerful monster that could fly and talk was easily killed by a human. Who was this human youth? Almost everyone was thinking about that. Jiang Xi had only been cultivating for a short time. His reputation was only spread in the martial arts world. The ordinary people in the outside world did not know who he was. Even in the martial arts world, many people had only heard of Jiang Xi. They did not know what Jiang Xi looked like. At the same time, many powerhouses in Pak Sun province were shocked when they saw the scene. Is this kid still human? Zhao Yan, who was commanding the battles in the barracks, was stunned by Jiang Xi. Freak. Terrifying. Fortunately, he's human. Han Wenjiu sighed as he killed a Class A monster with a wave of his hand. A spirit-nurturing cultivator killed a golden core cultivator. If Jiang Xi was a monster, then humans were doomed. At this time, the beast tide was surging. In just a few minutes, the Northern Mountain Army had lost tens of thousands of soldiers and martial artists. Only 100,000 of the beast tide had died. There were still 900,000 left. Boom! 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 The giant cannons kept roaring. It was as if they were pouring out the anger of humans. Ha! Kill these beasts. Kill to your heart's content. When Jiang Xi killed a golden core monster with a single slash, everyone was excited and roaring. The morale of the army was high. In the night sky, Jiang Xi saw this scene and heard these voices. He was also filled with heroic spirit. It was because of these people who were bathed in blood that the tens of thousands of people in the city were able to keep the lights on. Kill! Jiang Xi also shouted and flew down from the sky. He waved his hand and slashed out a huge sword light. Each sword light was 100 meters long and landed in the middle of the beast tide. To deal with these monsters below the spirit nurturing level, the sword light did not need to be so condensed. A large-scale attack was enough. Boom! 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 The huge sword light exploded one after another. In an instant, tens of thousands of monsters were blown into pieces. They could not be more dead. This was awesome. Jiang Xi was very excited. His experience points soared so fast that the interface notification did not even have time to broadcast it. As for those A-class, B-class, and C-class monsters with high intelligence, they had long since panicked. When the iron-backed golden centipedes were killed, they knew that the situation was not good. This beast tide attack had just begun. They were afraid that it would end soon. These powerful monsters were now worried that they would not be able to escape. Whoosh! At this time, another stream of light flew over from the horizon. There's another golden core cultivator. Everyone was shocked. Was it a monster or a human? Chapter 206. He had just killed a golden core monster, and now another golden core monster had appeared. Jiang Xi frowned slightly and spread out his spiritual sense. Then, he smiled. Where's the golden core monster? In the next instant, the flowing light stopped in the air, and a loud shout sounded. Everyone was relieved. It turned out to be a person. Head Gym Master, sorry, you're a step too late. Jiang Xi flew up to greet him. He patted the 2 pieces of ironback golden corpses tied to his waist. The person who came was Xian Tian. He had reached the golden core stage. Xian Tian, you brat, a sad sigh. When he heard that there was a golden core monster, he rushed over excitedly, intending to be the first person in the world to kill a golden core monster. He didn't expect that Jiang Xi would beat him to it. Then let's kill these little ones. Kill all these beasts. Xian Tian said murderously. Don't leave a single one alive. Jiang Xi also nodded heavily. The 2 of them flew down. One person, one in a direction, one with a saber and one with a sword, wantonly slaughtered the monster horde. Saber light and sword shadows constantly exploded in the monster horde. Before these monsters came, they definitely didn't expect that they would be slaughtered by 2 ferocious humans instead of coming to massacre the city. Tens of thousands of monsters fled, not daring to stay for a moment. Monsters above C-class had good intelligence. After sensing danger, they were the first to escape. As for those below C-class, they also followed their biological instincts to avoid danger. But how could their escape speed compare to Jiang Xi and Xian Tian? 100-mile pursuit. When the last monster was killed, the sun just happened to rise on the horizon. It was dawn. Jiang Xi lightly swung his long sword, not leaving a single drop of monster blood. A moment later, in the sky above the military camp at the north gate of Pak Sun province, Jiang Xi and Xian Tian stood in the air, looking at the monster corpses all over the land. Both of them smiled. It was dawn. The human sky was also beginning to brighten. A defensive battle against the monster horde turned into a battle to annihilate the monster horde. The 2 of them were the biggest contributors and his battle record was incomparably glorious. Not a single one of the million-strong beast horde was left alive. Blood flowed like a river. This was a great victory that had never been seen in the war between humans and monsters in the 100 years since the recovery of spirit energy. He didn't dare to speak about the situation in other countries, but in the Xia Empire, no monsters would dare to invade again. Head Gym Master, congratulations. You are the first golden core stage cultivator in the martial arts world. Jiang Xi congratulated. I was originally happy, but now that I've seen you, I feel that it's better to keep a low profile. Moreover, I'm not sure if I'm the first one to reach the golden core realm. Perhaps Yuan Qingshan, who ran away last time, has already reached the golden core realm. Xian Tian waved his hand. Jiang Xi nodded gently. Of course, he did not forget about the people from Yuan Qingshan. This person was like a poisonous snake, good at hiding. Before the 4th Spirit Qi revival, his strength was already on the same level as theirs. Moreover, when they were in the Fengdu secret realm, Yuan Qingshan had consumed a low-grade soul condensing pill, and his spiritual power had already started to transform. Judging from the current situation, it was very likely that Yuan Qingshan had reached the golden core realm earlier than Xian Tian. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to find his hiding place. Xian Tian sighed again. As long as we are strong enough, we don't have to be afraid of him. Jiang Xi laughed. Ha! The 2 of them laughed in unison. Jiang Xi and Xian Tian chased after the million-strong beast horde and slaughtered them. Not only did they intimidate the monsters, but they also intimidated the entire martial arts world. Other than the Xia Empire, the other 4 countries were the Peacock Country, the Dark Shadow Country, the Sacred Alliance, and the Alpha Star. The powerhouses of these countries all fell into silence. The Xia Empire was already very powerful. Now that they had such a powerhouse, would they still have a chance to catch up with the Xia Empire? They were not willing to accept it. The Peacock Country, located to the west of the Xia Empire's western plateau, occupied a subcontinent. In the long history of the Peacock Country, there had been many breakdowns in their civilization and many things had been lost. However, after the recovery of spiritual chi, their experts had excavated many ancient heritages from various ancient ruins and ancient temples on this subcontinent. As a result, this country had become one of the 5 remaining major countries in the Spirit Chi Revival era. On this day, in the wilderness of the Peacock Country, there was a rock cave buried in the ruins of an ancient pagoda that was rarely known. The rock cave was very dry and very quiet. A skinny old monk sat cross-legged on a stone platform in the rock cave. In the dim environment, his eyes were like torches, emitting an astonishing aura. In front of the old monk, there was a holographic projection. It was playing the Battle of the Beast Horde outside Pak Sun Province. 1,000 years have passed. I didn't expect the Xia Empire to still be so powerful. There are actually 2 young peerless geniuses. After sleeping for 1,000 years, the spirit chi of heaven and earth has revived. In this great era, it's time for me to go out and fight. The old monk's eyes were filled with greed as if they were filled with endless desire. He had awakened during the spirit chi tide some time ago. After a short tour of the Peacock Country, he had brought back some high-tech technology. He already had a preliminary understanding of the new era. However, this was not enough. He wanted more. The Holy Alliance, a 1,000-year-old holy city. In the old era, this city was called the City of the Prophets. When the Spirit Chi revival first occurred, this continent of the Western world was besieged by monsters in the sea and was in imminent danger. The powerhouses who walked out of this holy city dispersed the powerful beast horde from the sea. Then, these powerhouses, like the Holy Light, walked into the human world and led the people who survived the disaster to establish the Holy Alliance. Recently, there was an area in the Holy City Cathedral that was covered in white mist. During the Spirit Chi revival half a month ago, there were people who saw a 5-colored brilliance flash in this area in the middle of the night. Now, this area had been listed as a forbidden area by the Holy City Cathedral. Outsiders were forbidden to enter. On this day, white fog billowed in the forbidden area. If the white fog was dispelled, one would be able to see that this place was like a herb garden. There was a withered small tree stubbornly rooted in the middle of the herb garden. On the only branch of the small tree, there was a piece of crystal green leaf. At this time, 2 figures stood in front of the withered small tree. One was covered in a black robe, and the other was in a red robe. We have to speed up. After the 4th Spirit Chi revival, the Spirit Chi of heaven and earth has increased greatly. There are already geniuses in the Great Xia Kingdom who can kill Golden Core Realm cultivators in the Spirit Nurturing Realm. If we are 1 step late, we will never be able to catch up. The red-robed figure said in a low voice and was unusually gentle. Then do as I say. The Spirit Chi revival this time has allowed so many powerhouses to appear in the martial arts world. Wouldn't it be a waste if we don't make use of them? The black-robed figure smiled sinisterly, exuding a gloomy aura. Judging from the voice, it was Hermit Yuanqing who had disappeared for a long time. The red-robed figure was deep in thought. After a while, he said in a low voice, "There is a premise. We have to ensure that there is no problem down there. I don't want to bring disaster to this world because of our noble pursuit." After saying that, he turned and left. He. Hermit Yuanqing stayed where he was and laughed in a low voice as if he was mocking him. In the Ma family of the Chang'an Prefecture. This was because the only 2 clansmen of the family head, Ma Jinhai and Ma Yu, were both dead. There was a period of time when the clansmen of the branch became very chaotic, to the extent that they were going to separate from the family. However, half a month ago, the Ma family strangely quieted down again. On this day, the new family head of the Ma family from the branch came to the secret chamber of the ancestral hall. He recounted the Battle of the Beast Tide in Pak Sun Province in detail, as if he was talking to the air. After saying that, he left respectfully. After a long time, a gloomy aura circulated in this coffin-like secret chamber. End my bloodline. Chapter 207. The Battle of the Beast Tide outside Pak Sun Province had brought about a great impact and change to the world. Some inaccessible places, or some long-established families that had been in hiding for countless years, had awakened. Their awakening was not only related to the increase in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth due to the fourth awakening of spiritual energy. Another reason was that in this battle of the Beast Tide, there had been 2 golden core cultivators and a peerless genius who had killed a golden core cultivator with the strength of a spirit vessel cultivator. This meant that the current spiritual energy environment was enough to support the survival of a golden core cultivator. Those who had been in hibernation were no longer afraid. And the impact and change did not only happen in the human world. In the Yi Mountain secret realm of the Great Xia Kingdom, the Zhenyi army, who was in charge of guarding the Yi Mountain secret realm, and Qin Qi, the current generation expert of the Qin family of the Shuntian prefecture, were all ready for battle. At this time, in the sky above the Yi Mountain secret realm, a giant dragon python with wings on its back was circling in the air, roaming freely. Its body was covered in black scales, which emitted a cold light under the night sky. The feeling of flying in the air is really different. The dragon python spoke in human language, causing thunder to rumble. It had also reached the golden core stage. However, it had no intention of attacking. After circling in the air for a while, it returned to the Yi Mountain secret realm that was shrouded in fog. Qin Qi heaved a sigh of relief, and a yearning look appeared on his cold face. I want to reach the golden core stage too. Jiang Xi did not pay attention to the changes that had taken place in the world. After solving the crisis of the Beast Tide in Pak Sun Province, he returned home with the corpse of the ironback golden centipede. The millions of monster corpses were handed over to the North Mountain Army to clean up. With so many monster materials, the overall strength of the martial arts world in Pak Sun Province would definitely rise to a new level. As soon as Jiang Xi returned home, Jiang Dudu immediately came up to him with a smile on her face. She was proud of Jiang Xi's magnificent feat of killing the monsters. Then, she saw the corpse of the ironback golden centipede and asked curiously, "Brother, what are you going to do with such a huge centipede?" A giant centipede of the golden core stage is an excellent item for healing and detoxifying. It can be used to boil soup, soak in wine, make medicinal cuisine, and grind into powder. Jiang Xi said with a smile. It was not a waste of effort for him to organize and comprehend Taoist Ji's inherited memories for so long. These knowledge points came to him as soon as he opened his mouth. It's a pity that it's just a centipede. If only it was some kind of chicken, duck, or goose monster that had reached the golden core stage. It should be delicious. Jiang Dudu sighed. Jiang Xi did not care about the little girl's wishes. He went to the underground training room and carefully put away the corpse of the ironback golden centipede. Of course, materials like great fey corpses could be stored in storage rings for a longer period of time. However, the refinement of the storage ring had yet to be completed. It would take some time. Then, he opened the experience panel with a smile. Apart from the corpse of the great demon, he had also obtained a massive amount of experience points from the Beast Stampede battle. Cultivation level, Spirit Nurture, later stage 8820088200, Dao Technique, Gale Intent, 500,000/500,000, Sword Intent, 76,038, 61,000,000, Amplitude, 14. 687 Deduction, 10,000 experience points per use. Cultivation Techniques, Purple Cloud Sword Manual, Peacock Visualization Experience Points, 9. 83 million, I have almost 10 million experience points left. This should be enough for a long time. 83 million. This number made Jiang Xi feel more at ease. He did not have to find time to hunt monsters in the wilderness. Jiang Xi decided that he would focus on practicing the 100 refinements technique at home and strive to reach the golden core stage as soon as possible. He would not go out until he reached the golden core stage. The beast stampede battle had shocked the enemies and established a peaceful situation for the Xia kingdom for a period of time. However, not every city in the world had strong cultivators like Jiangxi and Xiantian. Just 3 days after the beast stampede battle in Pak Sun province, a tragic event happened in the Western world. Nordic City, which was located north of the Sacred Alliance, was massacred by a golden core demon. This was a large city that was independent of the 5 major countries and was very famous in the new era. Due to the complicated structure of the forces and loose management, this place became a place where exiled martial artists and evil people yearned for. While being powerful, it was also a synonym for chaos. However, on this day, under the attack of that terrifying golden core demon, in less than 10 minutes, this prosperous and powerful city became a sea of fire and ruins. There were hundreds of millions of people living here, but less than 10 million escaped. The tragic scene was captured by satellites and broadcasted around the world. It happened too suddenly, and Nordic City was a city that was independent of the 5 major countries. Even if the strong cultivators of the 5 major countries wanted to help, they could not make it in time. At this moment, Jiang Xi was cultivating. He was awakened from his cultivation by Jiang Daodu. Then, he saw the holographic image that was transmitted from the Western world. In the holographic image, there was a fire dragon that looked like a Western myth. Its huge body was hovering above Nordic City. It let out a thunderous laugh, and then spewed out a blazing red flame. In an instant, Nordic City became a sea of fire. The red flame was extremely powerful, as if it could melt everything. One after another, the tall buildings collapsed and melted, gathering into magma. As for ordinary people, it was even more impossible for them to resist this kind of flame. In less than a second, they were turned into ashes by the red flame. In such a situation, of course, there were people who resisted. The strongest person in Nordic City was an early-stage spirit vessel martial artist. However, just as he took out his long saber, he was crushed to death by the terrifying fire dragon. The people of the East are trash, and the demons of the East are even more trash. Today, I, the fire dragon, will be the first demon to massacre a human city. Its savage voice resounded in the sky above Nordic City that had turned into a sea of magma. What does your massacre of the Western world have to do with the Eastern world? This was a question that many people wanted to ask. When Jiang Xi saw this scene, he understood that it was related to the Beast Tide battle in Pak Sun province 3 days ago. Because there was also a golden core demon, the iron-backed golden centipede, that wanted to massacre a human city. However, just as the iron-backed golden centipede attacked, it was killed by his sword. The fire dragon and the iron-backed golden centipede were both golden core demons. They were equally ferocious and regarded human lives as nothing. It wanted to show its ferocity by massacring a city. At the end of the holographic image, the fire dragon seemed to know that there was a satellite recording. Its terrifying figure stood above the ruins of the Sea of Fire, and it said proudly, "That man from the east called Jiang Xi, do you dare to come to the Western world? Fight with me. Let me tell you, who is stronger between a demon and a human? I, the fire dragon, will wait for you here." The provocative declaration of war was spread all over the world through the holographic image. Suddenly, the whole world was in an uproar. For a moment, everyone was guessing whether Jiang Xi would accept the challenge. On one side was the first human genius to kill a golden core demon. On the other side was the first golden core demon to massacre a human city. If they were to fight, who would be stronger? Chapter 208. Xian Tian called immediately. Jiang Xi, do you want me to go over and kill that beast for you? From the virtual screen, the flame dragon was much stronger than the iron-backed golden centipede. Xian Tian was worried that Jiang Xi would accept the challenge. Don't worry about it. I'm not a 3-year-old kid. I won't be provoked by a few words. Jiang Xi laughed. When you want to kill it, just let me know. I'll do it for you. Xian Tian finally said. After ending the call, Jiang Xi shook his head gently. It seemed that Xian Tian couldn't bear it anymore and wanted to find a golden core monster to sharpen his knife. Li Baibai, Huang Kun, and the others also called one after another. Their intentions were different from Xian Tian's. They all advised Jiang Xi not to go. Although in their eyes, Jiang Xi was already very strong. However, Jiang Xi was the future hope of the great Xia kingdom, and if he didn't have to take the risk, it was best not to do so. Brother, you won't go, will you? Jiang Daodu also asked. I'm not stupid. Why would I do something that doesn't benefit me? Jiang Xi laughed. Did he travel thousands of miles just to kill a golden core great demon? Or to avenge the 90 million people who died in Northern Europe City? Don't joke around. He was not a saint. Among the 5 superpowers, the Holy Union and the Shadow Kingdom were both countries of the Western world. The powerhouses of these 2 countries didn't make a move. Why would he join in the fun? Jiang Xi believed that the Holy Union and the Shadow Kingdom definitely had powerhouses of the Golden Core level. Otherwise, in the era of spirit chi recovery, these 2 countries would have been destroyed by the monsters long ago. Jiang Xi let the flame dragon bark at him through the satellite network, the news media, and so on. He didn't pay attention to it at all and just focused on cultivation. At present, cultivating to the golden core stage was his biggest goal. However, Jiang Xi did not expect that the ones who were most disappointed by his indifferent attitude were the people from the Western world. The flame dragon slaughtered the entire city when he said so. He was incomparably savage and did not leave anyone a way out. The people of the Western world were worried that the flame dragons would massacre the cities again. Therefore, many people in the Western world hoped that Jiang Xi would take action and slay this ferocious golden core demon. Some people even sent out invitations on the internet, mobilizing the power of the internet to invite Jiang Xi over. However, Jiang Xi only replied with 2 words, not free. The fiery dragon thought that Jiang Xi was scared, so it shouted crazily. Looks like after 300 years, the Easterners haven't changed at all. They're still a bunch of gutless trash. Its words exposed its identity. Someone immediately went to investigate the news that had been preserved from the old era. Soon, they discovered a secret matter from a small newspaper. It turned out that 300 years ago, before the spirit chi had recovered, this flame dragon had come to the east and destroyed several small cities. Millions of people lost their lives as a result. In the end, it was frightened by an old Taoist in the mountains of Xia country and fled back to the Western world. Now, many people understood why the flame dragon hated the East so much. It had suffered under the hands of the Easterners before. Now, it wanted to regain its lost face. As for why it chose to provoke Jiang Xi, the reason was very simple. Jiang Xi was now one of the representatives of Xia country's martial arts world, and he was also the youngest one. Although he had killed the golden core demon, the ironback golden centipede, his actual cultivation was only at the late stage of spirit nourishment. No matter how one looked at it, he was the weakest among the top experts of Xia country's martial arts world. The others, such as Xian Tian and Li Baibai, had been famous for a long time. No one dared to underestimate them. In addition, Jiang Xi was now famous. If they defeated Jiang Xi, the benefits would be even greater. If one was famous, there would be trouble wherever he went. Of course, Jiang Xi also understood this. His attitude was still the same. If there were no benefits, he would not do it. Was it uncomfortable to lie down and cultivate at home? Jiang Xi did not accept the challenge, and the flame dragon gradually died down. After a few more days of clamoring, it felt bored. In the end, it once again said that the Easterners were all cowards and trash, and no longer spoke. In these few days, there were people who told Jiang Xi a lot of information about the flame dragon. Especially Xian Tian, who told him an important piece of information. 300 years ago, the sleeping flame dragon accidentally woke up. In order to replenish its energy, it massacred a few cities in the east and devoured ordinary people. However, it was not scared away by the old Taoist in the mountains. It was almost killed and suffered a great loss. The painful experience made it only dare to bark in the Western world now. It did not dare to come to the Xia country directly. Therefore, Jiang Xi's evaluation of this golden core demon was, bully the weak and fear the strong. Just look at its actions of massacring the cities. The flame dragon did not massacre the cities of the Sacred Union or the Shadow Kingdom. Instead, it chose the Northern European city as its target because the Northern European city had no backing. This kind of demon was like a pile of rotten dog poop. There was no benefit to killing it, and it might even be stained with the smell of poop. Jiang Xi did not want to waste the effort to go there and start a war between the East and the West. In the following period of time, the martial arts world fell into silence again. Nothing major happened. In such silence, the end of the year came in the blink of an eye. Jiang Xi and Jiang Daodu began to prepare for the New Year's goods. The two of them did not consider themselves as martial arts experts at all. Every New Year, they would visit relatives and friends as ordinary people and happily spend this important festival. New Moon Year 95, December 25th. On this day, Jiang Xi received a call from Xian Tian again. Jiang Xi, do you dare to go to the Sacred Union in the Western world? Go to that flame dragon? No, I'm buying New Year's goods. Xian Tian was speechless. New Year's goods. It seemed like he had not celebrated New Year's in 100 years. It's not about flame dragon. Last night, the Sacred Union's 1,000-year-old holy city suddenly shone with colorful brilliance. Then, our spies found something good inside. What good thing? A 10,000-year-old spiritual item. A 10,000-year-old spiritual item. Jiang Xi was also shocked. That was a raw material that could be used to refine middle-grade spiritual pills. Earth already had it. A 1,000-year-old spiritual item could be used to refine low-grade spiritual pills, while a 10,000-year-old spiritual item could be used to refine middle-grade spiritual pills. Middle-grade spiritual pills were extremely precious. Generally, only nascent soul cultivators could afford to use them. If there really was a 10,000-year-old spiritual item, then he could consider making a trip there. If there were benefits, he would definitely do it. Of course, he did not want to use the 10,000-year-old spiritual item to refine pills. Instead, he was interested in the spiritual energy contained in the 10,000-year-old spiritual item. How about it? With our speed, if we don't delay things, a round trip will take us half a day. Xian Tian laughed. That's fine. Where do we go? Come to Xian Tian City first. Anyway, we will pass by here to the Western world. No problem. Jiang Xi and Xian Tian agreed on a time and ended the call. His eyes flickered, and a fighting spirit rose in his eyes. In the old era, the Western world robbed us of many things. It's time to take them back. A 10,000-year-old spiritual item could be considered as interest first. Jiang Xi came from the old era. He knew better than the people of the new era the evil deeds that the Western world had done to the great Xia kingdom many years ago. Chapter 209. Except for the evil deeds of the old era. And a few years ago, those foreign spirit cultivators and A-level martial artists. They broke into the Jade Pool's secret realm without permission and wanted to seize those 1,000-year-old spiritual objects. These were enough to explain the banditry that the Western world had always pursued. Jiang Xi was very clear about one point. Since ancient times, one could not reason with the people of the Western world. Even if one wanted to reason, one had to use one's fists. He said goodbye to Jiang Daodu and went out with the profound condensation sword. He did not bring anything else with him. Because he had successfully refined the storage ring, he could use his spiritual sense to store items. He could finally use the magic treasure for traveling and killing people. He flew all the way to Xiantian City. Jiang Xi found that it was not only him and Xiantian who were going to the Western world. There was another person. Li Baibai. The aura emitted from her body was that of the gold core stage. However, Jiang Xi was not surprised that Li Baibai could reach the gold core stage. After all, her talent was there. Congratulations, Senior Li. Jiang Xi smiled and congratulated. Li Baibai was a cold-tempered person, but at this time, she smiled. She did not treat Jiang Xi as a spirit cultivator. In her eyes, Jiang Xi was a gold core stage. Jiang Xi, let's talk as equals. We are all in the gold core stage. There is no need to call me senior. Li Baibai chuckled. That's right. In ancient times, cultivators were ranked based on their cultivation and not their age. Xiantian nodded as well. Then he smiled and said, I think we should be more direct. How about this, Baibai and I call each other brother and sister in private. Jiang Xi, you can call me big brother in the future and call Baibai second sister. Sister Baibai, it's okay. Second sister doesn't sound good. Li Baibai shook her head. Riverward was stunned for a moment. Xiantian was indeed efficient and direct in handling matters. Just like that, they began to discuss the relationship between brothers and sisters. Greetings, big brother, sister Baibai. Jiang Xi did not refuse. These two people could be called the proud sons of heaven in the era of the recovery of spirit qi. Moreover, through Daoist Ge's inherited memories, he understood many things with the talents of Xiantian and Li Baibai. Even in the universe, they would be considered geniuses. Especially Xiantian, who could comprehend the true meaning of saber on his own with the cultivation of spirit vessel stage. With such talent, he was definitely a top genius. It was a good thing that they called each other brother and sister. Then the three of us will go to the Western world and cross the river. Xiantian laughed. Big brother, you were in the limelight during the battle of the Tongtian Mountain in the Jade Lake Secret Realm. This time, if there is a battle, let me make the first move. Li Baibai said in a cold voice. Xiantian joked, you'll have to ask our third brother. He's the fastest. The two of them turned to look at Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi chuckled. This time, I'll be responsible for the last hit. Then it's settled. Let's go. Let the Western world's martial artists experience the strength of our great Xia's martial artists. Xiantian waved his hand. The eyes of the three of them lit up. Since the recovery of spiritual qi, they had never taken the initiative to set foot in the Western world. This time, they had to make a good trip. Under the night sky, three figures soared into the sky and flew toward the holy city of the Holy Alliance in the Western world. When flying over the Kunlun Mountains, Jiang Xi found that the terrain had changed dramatically. The snowy mountains and the wilderness were gone. Instead, there was a lush primitive forest. Clouds and mist drifted between the mountains, making it look like a celestial mountain. Big brother, this change happened during the fourth recovery of spiritual qi? Jiang Xi asked. Yes, at that time, there were a few spirit vessel stage demons in the mountains, but they were all killed by me. Xiantian laughed. Jiang Xi and Li Baibai were speechless for a while. It seemed that Xiantian's saber had been thirsty for blood for a long time. Is there anything unusual in the Jade Lake Secret Realm? Jiang Xi asked again. I also find it strange. There are no changes in the Jade Lake during this recovery of spiritual qi. Xiantian shook his head. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. He had obtained an opportunity in the Jade Lake Secret Realm and didn't want anything to happen there. There were no changes this time, so it must be related to Anai Shang. Now that he thought about it, that majestic heaven-reaching tower was not simple. Big brother, are we flying in the wrong direction? It's 3 degrees off the route to the holy city, Li Baibai suddenly said. Jiang Xi looked at Li Baibai in surprise. He could see that. he was really a genius. We're not in a hurry to go to the holy city now. Before you came, I received new news that the situation there has changed. Xian Tian laughed. Change? Jiang Xi and Li Baibai were confused. Xian Tian continued, yes, we're not the only ones who noticed the changes in the Millennium Holy City. Many powerhouses and demons were also attracted there. Since last night until now, there have been several big battles there. Although he said that, the two were still confused. The situation was so intense, so they should rush there as soon as possible. But their battles caused the holy city to change. The five-colored brilliance formed a barrier and shrouded the forbidden area where the 10,000-year-old spiritual creature was. That barrier can't be opened in a short time, Xian Tian explained. Jiang Xi and Li Baibai nodded thoughtfully. It seemed that there were many things hidden in the Millennium Holy City. Then where are we going now? Jiang Xi was a little curious. Sicily Island. Traveling? Ha, previously, that flame dragon kept provoking Jiang Xi, and I couldn't stand it. This time, it's on the way. We'll go to its nest and help Jiang Xi vent his anger. Xian Tian laughed. That big lizard's nest is in Sicily Island? Jiang Xi was shocked. Someone once saw that the flame dragon landed on a volcano called Mount Etna in Sicily Island, and it's now fighting in the holy city. We can take the opportunity to clean up its nest. Xian Tian nodded, looking very excited. Although Jiang Xi suspected that it was Xian Tian's funny nature, he was also looking forward to it and was eager to try. After being provoked by this big demon for so long, he also wanted to vent his anger. It wasn't anger, but it was just like having a mosquito buzzing next to you while you were sleeping. It was annoying. The three of them took advantage of the night and flew in the air. Their speed was naturally very fast. From Xian Tian City to Sicily Island, the straight-line distance was nearly 8,000 kilometers. With the speed of the three of them, they arrived at this beautiful island on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea in just half an hour. In the old era, this was a tourist destination. After the recovery of spirit chi, this place had become a paradise for monsters. Only the warriors of the Holy Alliance would sometimes come here to train. From the air, they could see that there were many monsters crawling in the ruined buildings on the island. From time to time, they would let out a bestial roar. Jiang Xi's destination was Mount Etna, which was located on the east coast of Sicily Island. Others might not know about the situation of Mount Etna, but Jiang Xi had studied Western mythology before and had heard a little about this place. This was an active volcano more than 3,000 meters above sea level. In Western mythology, it was the hermitage of the god of fire. Legend had it that the god of fire used the flames here to forge many divine artifacts. Chapter 210. Most of the myths and legends were illusory and unpredictable. The three of them just laughed it off, because the gods in Western myths and legends were most likely a group of cultivators. But when they approached Mount Etna, they put away their relaxed attitude. This volcano looked a little mysterious, revealing a kind of aura that made them fearful. The fire on the top of the mountain lit up the night sky, emitting an amazing temperature. No wonder that big lizard is so powerful. It's a fire-type demon. This kind of environment is the best place for it to cultivate. Jiang Xi said with some surprise. They used their spiritual sense to explore the volcano. Let's go and have a look. I found its nest. Xian Tian said. The three of them didn't hide their powerful aura and flew to the top of Mount Etna. The monsters living near the volcano all fled in all directions. The next moment, they flew to the top of the volcano. The temperature here is terrible. Even if an A-level martial artist came, it would be difficult to bear. Li Baibai looked serious. It was the recovery of spirit chi that made the environment here change greatly. Roar. At this time, a beast roar came from a cave full of volcanic magma on the top of the mountain. A crypt flame dragon with magma hanging on its body roared and rushed out. At the same time, it used its spiritual sense to express its anger. This is the territory of the Flame Dragon King, trespassers. Roar. This was a crypt flame dragon that was cultivated by a red-shelled earthworm, not the big lizard. However, this crypt flame dragon was not weak. It was a spirit nourishment demon. But even if it was a spirit nourishment demon, the crypt flame dragon was quickly extinguished. It didn't dare to say the word, die. The magma and flames all over its body fell in clusters, shivering. Because it recognized the three of them. Jiang Xiai, Xian Tian, Li Bai Bai. The crypt flame dragon felt bitter. Any one of these three people could kill it with a slap. Boss, didn't you provoke them, saying that they are useless and don't have the guts to come? Now they are at our doorstep, and three of them at once. Roar, the crypt flame dragon roared again, and its spiritual sense conveyed a message of begging for mercy. Noisy. Li Bai Bai shouted. Her sword flashed, and her figure disappeared. Almost instantly, the sword cut off half of the crypt flame dragon's head. In front of them, the powerful spirit nourishment stage great demon couldn't even live for 3 seconds. Sister Bai Bai's sword is even faster. Jiang Xiai praised. Last time when she was training in the Jade Lake Secret Realm, she gained something and made a breakthrough in her swordsmanship, Xian Tian explained. Li Bai Bai flashed back and said softly, this is the advanced version of the 9 elements sword art, the 8 elements sword art. If you want to learn, I can record a tutorial for you when we get back. She was talking to Jiang Xiai. Thank you, big sister Bai Bai. Jiang Xiai did not decline. You're welcome. You were the one who provided me with the cultivation method of the Aurus Core stage. I should be the one thanking you. Li Bai Bai shook his head. Both of them laughed. Jiang Xiai was indeed interested in Li Bai Bai's sword. This was because Li Bai Bai's swordsmanship was very pure. There was nothing mixed into it. It only pursued extreme speed. Jiang Xi's swordsmanship had changed. He walked a different path. However, this did not prevent him from learning Li Bai Bai's swordsmanship. This was the principle of gathering the wisdom of the masses and comprehending by analogy. Xian Tian did not interrupt. He used a saber, so swordsmanship was useless to him. Then, they turned their attention back to the flame dragon's lair and walked straight in. There should be good things in the lair of a gold core great demon, right? After all, this big lizard had lived for a long time. This big lizard's lair is actually so luxurious. As soon as they entered, their eyes were so dazzled that they almost went blind. Beside a magma pool with an astonishing temperature, there were piles of shiny gems, gold, and so on. It was like a small mountain. In Western mythology, the dragons were greedy. It was true. Unfortunately, these ordinary treasures are useless to us. Xian Tian shook his head. The things they needed could not be bought with these gems and gold. There's something underground. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. This was the benefit of his observation skills. With his spiritual sense, he had carefully explored with his spiritual sense as soon as he came in. Afterwards, he discovered that there was a blank area on the ground where his spiritual sense was probing. He slapped out with his palm and scattered the gems and gold, revealing a smooth rock underneath. At this time, a crack appeared in the rock, and a simple leather case could be seen hidden inside. This big lizard really knows how to hide things. If someone came in, they would definitely be attracted by the gems and gold and not think of continuing to look down. Jiang Xiai laughed. At the same time, he grabbed the handle of the leather case and pulled it out of the rock. Open it and see what's inside. Xian Tian was quite expectant. Li Bai Bai's eyes were also bright. Because this leather case was very strange, it could isolate their spiritual sense from probing. It seemed to be made of unknown beast skin. There's actually a spirit weapon. Jiang Xiai was very surprised. After the case was opened, they saw that in addition to more than 30,000-year-old spirit fruits, there was also a long black saber glowing with a cold light. On the blade, there was a kind of shocking spiritual aura. The three people's gazes were attracted by the long saber, and they directly ignored the valuable 1,000-year-old spirit fruits. Spirit weapon? Li Bai was somewhat puzzled. She had only heard of spirit pills and spirit weapons, but not spirit weapons. Jiang Xi didn't hide it. With his current strength, there were many things that he didn't need to hide. He opened his mouth and explained, "This is a low-grade spirit weapon. Its quality is dozens or hundreds of times higher than a spirit weapon, but it must be refined with spiritual sense to exert its power. This is a special weapon for cultivators?" Xian Tian also asked. To be exact, generally only Aurus core stage cultivators use low-grade spirit weapons. Jiang Xi nodded and added, "I learned this from the trial in Heavenly Tower." He lied about this. In fact, he learned this from Daoist Ge's inherited memories. Xian Tian and Li Bai suddenly understood and believed Jiang Xi's words. Then the two of them looked at each other, somewhat embarrassed. Who should use this saber? After all, it was Jiang Xi who discovered it. Jiang Xi smiled and said, "Big brother uses a saber, let's give it to him." Xian Tian wasn't a pretentious person. He fell in love with this saber at first sight. He immediately grabbed the black long saber, his eyes bright, and smiled at Jiang Xi. "You have to tell me the method to refine spirit weapons." "No problem, I'll give you a copy." Jiang Xi nodded and agreed. It was a piece of cake. "Next time, I'll find a chance to go to the lairs of other Aurus core stage demons and see if I can get you too a spirit weapon long sword." Xian Tian held the long saber and said excitedly, "I don't need it. Last time, I used the Aurus core stage cultivation method to exchange for the long sword from you. It was also a low-grade spirit weapon." Jiang Xi smiled lightly. "You brat." Xian Tian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It turned out that he already had such a treasure. Chapter 211. Xian Tian didn't complain about Jiang Xi either. After all, he wasn't good at appraising treasures. Li Bai also smiled. She had a cold personality and rarely took the initiative to ask for things. She believed that if Xian Tian and Jiang Xi got a similar spiritual longsword in the future, they wouldn't forget about her. Finally, it was time to distribute the remaining 1,000-year-old spiritual items in the suitcase. Since Xian Tian already got a low-grade spiritual weapon, he didn't participate in the distribution of the spiritual items. There were a total of 32,000-year-old spiritual items. Jiang Xi and Li Bai each took half. For Jiang Xi, he finally got something from this trip to the Flame Dragon's lair. He really needed these items to replenish his spiritual qi. Of course, if he could get another item, it would be a great harvest. When the three were dividing the Flame Dragon's property, they didn't expect that the Sacred Union had a satellite monitoring the situation on Mount Etna. After all, this was the Flame Dragon's lair, and the Flame Dragon was the only Golden Core Great Demon that had slaughtered a human city. They had to keep an eye on the Flame Dragon's movements. When Jiang Xi and the others appeared in the sky above Mount Etna, the satellite captured them. In an underground military base of the Sacred Union, a military martial artist in charge of monitoring Mount Etna suddenly stood up in shock. "The three Golden Core powerhouses of the Great Xia Kingdom have come to our Western world. The cultivation realms after A-class had been deliberately spread by some people in the martial arts world." A big-nosed military officer quickly rushed over. After seeing the figures of Jiang Xi and the others on the screen, his face turned grim. "Is the Flame Dragon still in the sacred city?" he first asked another military martial artist. "It's still here. Earlier, it joined forces with the Silver Wolf King to kill a Golden Core cultivator from the Alpha Star." The big-nosed military officer thought for a while and suddenly said decisively, broadcast the satellite image of Mount Etna to the outside world and broadcast it live. Colonel. Someone didn't understand. The great Xia martial artists and the flame dragon are all our enemies. Let them fight it out first. It's best if both sides suffer, and let the powerhouses of the Sacred Union finish them off in one fell swoop. Colonel is wise. Everyone came to their senses. This was a tactic of driving the tiger to devour the wolf. Soon, the live broadcast of Mount Etna was broadcasted all over the world. Suddenly, the people of the world were shocked. The people of Great Xia were the happiest and most proud of this. 3 gold core realm cultivators traversed nearly 10,000 kilometers. They are going to cause a big commotion. Rumor has it that the holy city of the Holy Alliance is acting strangely. It is suspected that a peerless treasure has appeared. They are definitely heading for the holy city. Snatch. Snatch the treasure back. Trample the Western world and raise the prestige of our country. Is no one paying attention to where they are now? According to the live stream, that's the Flame Dragon's lair. Haha, didn't Flame Dragon say that Jiang Xi didn't dare to go to the Western world? This time, we went straight to its doorstep. Of course, there was also public knowledge. Although these 3 people are golden core experts of our Xia kingdom, they have rashly stepped into the Western world. They have completely provoked hatred for our Xia kingdom. I request for them to be strongly condemned. Make them apologize to the Western world. Justice was in the hearts of the people. The person who posted this comment was scolded by the entire internet. He immediately logged out of the internet and stopped playing, worried that someone would follow the internet cable to find him. This kind of person only dared to use the keyboard as a sword and pretend to be a hero. In reality, he was a pile of dog shit. The Western world was also abuzz about this. This is an invasion. Where are our peerless experts? Quickly go and kill these ugly invaders. Someone roared. They went to the Flame Dragon's lair. That's great. The peerless experts from the east, quickly destroy that evil dragon. Someone was excited. At the same time, Flame Dragon, who was in the Holy City, had received the news that its house had been robbed. It saw Flame Dragon, who was guarding its house, killed by Li Bai. Then, it saw Jiang Xi and the other 2 swagger into its house. To the prideful Flame Dragon, this was a great humiliation. Moreover, all the treasures it had accumulated over the past 1,000 years were buried in its house. There were many precious treasures. I hope they won't find that animal skin box, it would be too late to rush back now. The more it thought about it, the angrier the Flame Dragon became. The flames it spat out were hundreds of feet high. Jiang Xi, you cowardly eastern trash. You only dare to do such sneaky things. If you have the guts, come to the holy city. I will turn you into ashes. It thought that this was Jiang Xi's revenge. After all, it did not provoke Xian Tian and Li Bai. The scene of Flame Dragon's anger was transmitted to the outside world by a golden core expert in the holy city. Jiang Xi and the others soon received this hot news. Only then did they know that their whereabouts had been exposed. However, if they were exposed, then so be it. They were not afraid at all. Jiang Xi even used his tactical communications watch to take a virtual light video of himself. He threw the gems and gold into the volcanic magma. He said casually, "Okay, big lizard, wait for me in the holy city. We will be there soon." What kind of crap is this? In the end, the sound of him throwing the gems and gold could be heard. Then, he posted the video online. In a few seconds, it became the #1 trending topic on the internet. Therefore, the world was once again in an uproar. Almost everyone was shocked by Flame Dragon's collection. How long would it take to collect so many gems and gold? It was just that Jiang Xi was too wasteful. Couldn't he take them away? Why did he have to throw them into the volcanic magma? But then, everyone reacted. Were the 3 golden core experts from the east really going to the holy city? Flame Dragon happened to be in the holy city. There would be a good show to watch. Just as many people thought, when Flame Dragon saw this video, it was furious. Once again, its anger soared to the sky, and the entire holy city could hear its angry roar. Those gems and gold melted by the magma were secondary. They were just decorations to it. What made Flame Dragon's heart ache the most was that it saw the beast skin box at Riverward's feet and the spirit tool long saber in Xian Tian's hand. That was its most important collection. When it was still a small flame dragon, it came to Mount Etna for the first time. Then, it found the ancient animal skin box and the spiritual longsword at the top of the mountain. This kind of fortuitous encounter made it believe that Mount Etna was its destined blessed land. Therefore, it set up a home on the mountain. It had been almost 1,000 years. Now, its home was stolen by 3 thieves from the east. Roar! Jiang Xi, 3 trash from the east, you are dead. Its anger rose to the sky again. In the lair at the top of Mount Etna, the 3 quickly threw the gems and gold all over the ground into the magma and melted them all. Although Jiang Xi felt it was a pity, there was nothing he could do. He didn't want to expose that he had a storage ring. This leather box can block our spiritual sense detection. It doesn't look like an ordinary item. But we are about to go to the Millennium Holy City. It's inconvenient to take it with us, but it's a pity to leave it here. Li Bai frowned slightly. I don't want this thing. It's a hindrance when fighting. Xian Tian shook his head. Jiang Xi smiled and said, then give it to me. I will carry it. Chapter 212. Jiang Xi was still thinking about how to get this leather case, but he didn't expect that Xian Tian and Li Bai didn't want it. It saved him a lot of trouble. He had already roughly identified the material of this leather case. If he guessed correctly, this should be made from the skin of a nascent soul great demon. Therefore, it could isolate their spiritual senses from probing. This was a good thing, even more precious than the low-grade spirit saber. Although Jiang Xi was puzzled, he didn't know who was so extravagant to make the skin of a nascent soul great demon into a case so simply. But he didn't think too much about it, as long as he got the benefits. This beast skin case was nearly 2 meters long. If it was opened, the area would definitely not be small. Although he didn't have the conditions to use this skin to refine a spirit battle armor. But when he went back, he could simply cut it and make 2 armor vests. Wearing it on the body could also display the strong defensive effect of the beast skin. At that time, he and Jiang Daodu would each have 1. The strongest defense was stable. At the current stage, there shouldn't be any gold core cultivators who could break through the defense of a nascent soul cultivator. Then, now we should go to that holy city. The 3 of them stood on the mountain top and looked in the direction of the 1,000-year-old holy city. In the old era, the 1,000-year-old holy city was a transcendent place. After the arrival of the new era, it became the holy land of the Holy Alliance. Late last night, the forbidden area of the holy city suddenly appeared with a 5-colored brilliance. It was like a holy light that illuminated the land, making the holy city appear incomparably sacred. A 10,000-year spirit item caused the wind and clouds to gather here. The holy city was stained with blood. In several great battles, gold core experts fell here. After their deaths, their corpses and blood emitted a baleful aura that didn't dissipate for a long time. This was only a visual shock. Only those who were truly powerful would be able to experience the terror of the holy city. This seemingly sacred holy city faintly emitted an aura. Even gold core cultivators trembled in fear. Therefore, after Jiang Xi and the other 2 flew here from the sky, they didn't get close. They landed on the ground and walked forward. They also felt that kind of frightening aura. Intuition told them that flying above the holy city would be dangerous. We can't underestimate the heritage of the Western world. Xian Tian's expression was solemn. Their inheritance is also thousands of years old. There must be something hidden. Jiang Xi nodded. Li Bai was not a talkative person, but he had a serious expression on his face. It had just drizzled, so the air was slightly fresh and filled with a faint mist. The three of them walked side by side on the bluestone floor towards the entrance of the holy city. At the entrance, a blond man stopped them. He was a spirit-gathering cultivator from the Western world. Stop! You're not allowed to enter this place. They didn't know where he got the courage to block their way. Scram! Xian Tian shouted coldly. The golden-haired man's face paled, and he quickly retreated. Jiang Xi understood that this person must have been instructed by someone to block their way. Otherwise, it was impossible for him to not recognize the three of them. Big brother, I think Jiang Xi is right. We shouldn't waste our breath on things that can be solved with our fists. Li Bai said expressionlessly. Just now, it was etiquette. Now, it's war. Xian Tian's gaze swept across the holy city. The eyes hidden in those buildings didn't dare to continue to spy on them, and they all disappeared. The three of them entered the city and walked towards the forbidden area of the holy city. This holy city was larger than the old era. After the establishment of the Holy Alliance, a large area around it was directly unified and divided into the new holy city. The old holy city that was less than half a square kilometer had become the forbidden area of the holy city. It was also the place that was covered by the barrier formed by the colorful brilliance. Jiang Xi maintained his usual good habits. When he arrived at a new place, he would observe the surroundings. After a round of investigation with his spiritual sense, he found that the ordinary people here had been moved to other places. Only the cultivators and great demons were left. At this time, there was no big battle. It seemed that after the few battles last night, these people and demons also needed to rest. Hello, three guests from the east. When they passed by a wide alley, a handsome white young man walked out of the alley and greeted the three of them in a gentlemanly manner. Chris? Li Bai frowned slightly. Beautiful Miss Li Bai, it's my honor that you still remember me after 30 years. Chris was very surprised. Xian Tian also seemed to recognize who this person was. Only Jiang Xi was confused. He didn't know who this person was. This person called Chris was at the early stage of the Golden Core realm. His breath was a little unstable. It seemed that he had just broken through to this realm recently. Because they didn't know whether he was a friend or a foe, Jiang Xi didn't say anything. What's the matter? Li Bai didn't plan to chat with Chris, and asked directly. Li Bai and I are old friends. I knew that the three of you were coming. Considering that you might not be familiar with the environment here, I purposely waited here to be your guide. Chris was very enthusiastic. Jiang Xi and Xian Tian looked at Li Bai with a questioning gaze. He is a hidden powerhouse of the Shadow Kingdom. 30 years ago, he went to ruin number 06 to hunt monsters. We cooperated there and hunted a few Class A monsters. Li Bai explained. Xian Tian nodded and let Li Bai make the decision. Then we'll have to trouble you. Please take us directly to the forbidden area of the sacred city. Li Bai said to Chris. Please follow me. Clichy snapped his fingers and led the way. Looking at his back, Jiang Xi and the other two looked at each other and nodded slightly. They didn't let down their guard. They had the strength of the Golden Core realm. However, there were quite a number of Golden Core realm cultivators gathered in the sacred city. With Chris leading the way, they could find out more about the situation. The three of them followed Chris and soon went deep into the city. After walking for more than 10 kilometers, they should be almost at the forbidden area of the sacred city. 3 guests from the east, we're here. Chris turned around and smiled brightly. However, Jiang Xi and the other two didn't say anything. This was a dead end. Not far away, they could see the tall walls of the forbidden area of the sacred city and the colorful barrier. However, it was obvious that this was not the entrance to the forbidden area. Jiang Xi smiled. The fox finally showed its tail. "Chris, what do you want to do?" Li Bai asked with a serious face. She had a glimmer of hope for this old comrade of hers. Now, the last glimmer of hope disappeared. "Ha, I want you to die. As long as you die, the sky of the Xia kingdom will collapse." Chris laughed wildly. Boom! Boom! Another two figures with shocking aura appeared. They were also in the early stage of the Golden Core realm. It was a fire dragon with fiery red scales and a silver-haired wolf howling in the moon. Fire Dragon and Silver Wolf King. This was a premeditated ambush. "The three of you will die here today." Fire Dragon spat out fire from its mouth. It was furious. It saw Jiang Xi carrying its leather box on his back and Xian Tian holding its black long sword. That was its family property. Of course, it was furious. Chapter 213. Jiang Xi ignored the roar of the flame dragon. Instead, he stared at Clichy. Compared to the angry lizard, he wanted to kill this little guy more. "I hate two-faced people like you the most." Jiang Xi pointed his sword at Clichy. "I have no choice. Your Xia kingdom is too strong. I have to do this. I have to kill the three of you. Only then can we have a chance to surpass the Xia kingdom." Clichy shrugged helplessly. His tone was full of pride. "You are so confident?" Li Bai asked coldly. "Obviously, we have 3 Golden Core Realm cultivators, and you only have 2. No matter how powerful Jiang Xi is, he is only in the Spirit Gathering realm. His means are not as good as a real Golden Core Realm cultivator. So, the 3 of you must die today. Beautiful Miss Li Bai, I hope you won't hate me after you die." Clichy's face was full of a sunny smile. "Humph." Jiang Xi snorted. The gale intent suddenly appeared. The gale whistled. His figure flashed, and he flew out with the sword light. His speed was far beyond the early Golden Core realm. He attacked without saying anything. Why waste time talking? Fuck. Clichy's face changed. His sunny smile disappeared. At the same time, he made a counterattack. But before he could lift his sword. Puff! The Abyss Condensation Sword, a low-grade spiritual weapon, pierced his heart with the gale. He was only in the early Golden Core realm. His strength was not even as good as the Ironback Golden Centipede. How could he dodge Jiang Xi's speed? One-hit kill. This was karma. A Spirit Gathering Realm cultivator would still kill you. You killed an early Golden Core Realm cultivator. Experience points plus 1000, Jiang Xi sheathed his sword. It took less than 0.1 seconds to kill one person. At this time, the Flame Dragon and the Silver Wolf King just reacted. They let Jiang Xi kill their people in front of them. The 2 Golden Core Realm demons both roared. You are courting death. Roar. The Flame Dragon spat out a mouthful of blazing flames, attacking riverward. Similarly, the Silver Wolf King that wanted to kill Jiang Xi was stopped by Xian Tian and Li Bai. Jiang Xi was facing the Flame Dragon alone. His heart was as calm as still water, and he was very calm. He was already prepared to take action at any time the spirit energy in his entire body surged, and with a light swing of the profound condensation sword, the Gale True Meaning was activated once more. With a flash of sword light, a strong gust of wind rushed towards the red flames. Boom! The huge explosion caused by the collision set off a violent shockwave that swept through the space. Surprisingly, the seemingly ordinary floor tiles and buildings of the holy city were completely undamaged. Not simple. However, at this moment, they didn't have the time to care about this. Battle. With just one strike, the man and the demon had displayed their formidable strength. Within the holy city, the other cultivators and great demons were using their spiritual senses to observe the area. Seeing this scene, they were completely shocked by Jiang Xi's strength. This young man from the east was too strong. He was only in the spirit nourishment realm, yet he was able to fight against the gold core realm. After exchanging blows once, Jiang Xi was slightly surprised. The flame dragon's strength was much stronger than the ironback centipede from last time. He thought about it and understood the reason. This giant lizard's cultivation was only at the early stage of the golden core realm. However, it had lived for many years and had rich combat experience, so its actual combat strength could barely reach the middle stage of the golden core realm. However, even if it was at the middle stage of the golden core realm, Jiang Xi was not afraid. He was about to take the initiative to attack. However, at this moment, a red figure flew over like lightning and arrived in front of them in an instant. With a wave of his hand, powerful spiritual energy surged and set off waves of air, forcing Jiang Xi and the two great demons to stop their attacks. This person was very strong. It was an old man in a red robe. He had silver hair and a very kind face. Jesus! The flame dragon was obviously a little afraid. Both it and the silver wolf king were vigilant as they looked at the kind old man. Pope of the holy city, Jesus. Jiang Xi's eyes flashed. He also recognized the old man's origin. Jesus was the leader of the holy city in the new era and was quite famous. However, he did not expect that Jesus was also a powerful golden core cultivator. Jesus smiled and said, "The barrier of the holy city's forbidden area is about to open. Can you give me face and stop fighting for a while? Let's go." The flame dragon and the silver wolf king snorted, then stared at Jiang Xi fiercely and turned to leave. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai also looked at each other. This fight was definitely not going to continue. They also planned to leave first. Unexpectedly, Jesus stopped them. "The three of you, please wait." The three of them looked at Jesus in confusion. "What's the matter?" Xian Tian asked in a low voice. They did not want to have too much to do with this pope, because they all found that Jesus was a little mysterious. The move that stopped them just now seemed to have merged with the holy city. It was very powerful. Jesus smiled and said, "The three of you are all golden core cultivators of the human race. This time, there are abnormal movements in the forbidden area of the holy city. The 10,000-year-old spiritual object has caused chaos. I want to ask the three of you to help me break the colorful barrier covering the forbidden area and quell the crisis of the holy city. Do you think we will help you?" Xian Tian asked. "You are here for the 10,000-year-old spiritual object in the forbidden area. If the barrier is not broken, you can't get it. So, it is better to work together and break the barrier first." Jesus' smile did not change. This reason was very good. Jiang Xi and the others did not continue to refuse. They nodded and followed Jesus to the forbidden area not far away. When they arrived at the entrance, they found that Jesus had invited more than the three of them. Basically, all the cultivators and monsters gathered in the holy city were here. After a rough count, there were more than 50 of them. Among them, there were about 10 in the golden core stage, and the rest were in the spirit nurturing stage. Jiang Xi also saw a familiar figure. The dragon python of the E Mountain secret realm. This monster had also reached the golden core stage. At this time, the dragon python, who had shrunk 100 times in size, was accompanied by a black tortoise of the same size. It was also in the golden core stage. Jiang Xi nodded slightly to the dragon python. They had met last time. At that time, this terrifying monster wanted to kill him but was stopped by Qin Qi. When they met again, he was no longer the A-level warrior who was chased by the dragon python. Now that they were in the same position and were both from the Great Xia Kingdom, it was a good time to say hello. The dragon python was very cold and unmoved. On the contrary, the black tortoise next to him grinned at Jiang Xi as if it was smiling. Jiang Xi felt a little strange. Had he seen this black tortoise before? But he still smiled. Then, Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai observed the forbidden area of the holy city together. They saw that the barrier formed by the colorful brilliance was like an inverted bowl. It enveloped the forbidden area of the holy city, which was less than half a square kilometer, and there was a thin mist flowing inside. In the middle of the forbidden area, there was a small tree about 3 meters tall. The leaves of the small tree were crystal green and there were 4 tempting crystal fruits hanging on the branches, swaying. This was a mature 10,000-year-old spiritual item. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai's eyes lit up and they looked at each other. They had to fight for it. They were very clear that at this stage, everyone's cultivation had just entered the golden core stage. Whoever got the 10,000-year-old spiritual item, their strength might advance by leaps and bounds and be ahead of others. Chapter 214. While Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai were observing the situation at the entrance, the golden core and spirit-nurturing cultivators, as well as the big demons, were also looking at the 3 of them with fear. They had all observed the scene of Jiang Xi killing Krishna and fighting the flame dragon with their spiritual senses. Among the dozen or so golden core cultivators present, only a few were confident that they could block Jiang Xi's sword. But there were exceptions. A middle-aged man with a pale and stiff face stared at Jiang Xi's back, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. There was also a skinny old monk who seemed to be resting with his eyes closed. But when Jiang Xi and the others arrived, his eyelids twitched. This time, Jiang Xi's sharp spiritual senses were not working, so he did not notice this. The more than 50 cultivators and big demons did not say much, and just waited quietly. The flame dragon and the silver wolf king also came from another place. No one wanted to miss the 10,000-year-old spiritual item in the forbidden area. Pope Jesus seemed to be emitting holy light, which was faintly compatible with the sacred city. He stood in front of the entrance and said to all the cultivators and big demons, "I know you are all here for the 10,000-year-old spiritual item. I will not stop you with the treasure in front of you. But I only have one request. Do not destroy the buildings in the sacred city, or don't blame me for being rude." The cultivators and the great demons all had tense faces. They didn't say anything, but they all listened to Hessus's words. Obviously, they had seen Pope Jesus's strength before. With some kind of mysterious connection with the sacred city, Pope Jesus's strength was definitely one of the top few people. "Now, please work together to open this 5-colored barrier." Pope Jesus shouted, and a powerful aura suddenly burst out. Then, he slapped his palm first, and a huge palm formed by holy light suddenly fell on the 5-colored barrier. Boom boom. The shocking power was like thunder, and the 5-colored barrier trembled a little. It actually trembled. "Quick, let's work together," an early-stage golden core cultivator said excitedly. Immediately, the cultivators and greater demons gathered at the entrance attacked at the same time, unleashing all kinds of attacks. Saber lights, sword shadows, lightning flashes, thunder rolls, flames, astral winds, and so on all attacked the 5-colored barrier. These powerful attacks could definitely turn a golden core stage cultivator into nothingness. Crack crack crack, cracks began to appear on the seemingly indestructible 5-colored barrier like glass. "Break!" Hessus roared, and the holy light on his body became clear. The white light blazed and instantly condensed into a holy light spear. He grabbed the spear of holy light and threw it at the cracked 5-colored barrier. Crash! A large hole appeared in the 5-colored barrier. The crowd and the demons were pleasantly surprised and shocked. The pleasant surprise was that the forbidden area had been opened. What shocked him was that Yesus's strength had definitely surpassed the middle stage of gold core. He was much stronger than they had imagined. Ha, the 10,000-year-old spiritual item is mine. When everyone was shocked, a spirit-gathering cultivator actually reacted the fastest and rushed directly to the broken hole excitedly. A mere spirit-gathering cultivator dares to be presumptuous. The fleshy wings of the flame dragon flapped, and a blade-like flame flew out and fell directly on the excited spirit-gathering cultivator. Puff! The man didn't even have time to scream before he turned into ashes. The ferocious and bloodthirsty flame dragon shocked those spirit-gathering cultivators and greater demons. But who would be willing to give up the treasure in front of them? Moreover, this was a 10,000-year-old spiritual item. As long as one could get one of the 4 fruits, they might be able to reach the golden core stage. It can't kill all of us, let's take advantage of the chaos. Some other spirit-gathering cultivators shouted. Suddenly, more than 40 spirit-gathering cultivators and greater demons rushed to the hole in the 5-colored barrier. Indeed, as he said, no matter how ferocious the flame dragon was, it couldn't kill everyone in an instant. Soon, everyone rushed in. The fiery dragon roared angrily. Rolling up the flames, it also flashed and entered. Let's go in too. Xian Tian shouted in a low voice. Immediately, the 3 of them passed through the 5-colored barrier side by side. At this time, the other golden core cultivators and greater demons didn't fall behind, and they all displayed their fastest speed. They were not afraid of the spirit-gathering cultivators fighting for it, but they were afraid of the golden core cultivators fighting for it. Whoosh! In less than a breath, everyone entered the forbidden area of the sacred city. Jesus was the last one to go in. In the chaos, no one noticed that before Jesus passed through the 5-colored barrier. With a wave of his hand, the broken hole was restored as before. And he easily passed through the complete 5-colored barrier without any hindrance. Kill! A group of excited spirit-gathering cultivators and great demon beasts rushed into the forbidden area and immediately wanted to rush to the small tree. Then, everyone was stunned. Because the scene in front of them was completely different from what they saw outside. The forbidden area inside the 5-colored barrier was actually a dim and barren space. Only in the depths of the space, there was a white holy light illuminating an area. And what emitted the holy light was a withered small tree, less than 1 meter high. On the trunk of the small tree, there was only one branch with a crystal green leaf. How was this a 10,000-year-old spiritual object? It was obviously a spiritual object that was about to wither. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, a group of golden core cultivators and greater demons also rushed in and were also shocked by the scene in front of them. Where was the 10,000-year-old spiritual object? Jiang Xi also instantly became alert and spread out his spiritual sense. Then, he found that his spiritual sense couldn't penetrate the holy light emitted by the withered small tree. It was a little strange. Big brother, sister bye-bye, be careful. The holy light looks sacred, but it seems to reveal a kind of gloominess. Jiang Xi reminded in a low voice. Xian Tian and Li Baibai nodded with a solemn expression. They also noticed it, but they weren't as sharp as Jiang Xi's spiritual sense. There seemed to be something wrong with this matter. Was it a camouflage or something? Jiang Xi vaguely guessed something in his heart. This should be some kind of spatial array. It was somewhat similar to the Palace of Tomorrow in the Fengdu secret realm. The palace had a limited area, but it hid an endless barren space. The array here should have the same effect, but the scale was much smaller. From the outside of the 5-colored barrier, the forbidden area of the holy city was less than half a square kilometer, but after entering, it was a big space. However, Jiang Xi didn't know what kind of spatial array it was. Although he had sorted out and comprehended Taoist Ge's inheritance memory many times, he didn't study the array in depth. In addition, he couldn't figure out why the small tree had changed so much. He vaguely felt that there seemed to be another array in this space, and it should be related to the small tree. Before Jiang Xi could start to investigate. At this moment, someone suddenly said, "This is the root of a 10,000-year-old spiritual object." When it matures, it will bear a 10,000-year-old spiritual object fruit. What we saw outside should be its mature appearance. The person who spoke was actually Jesus. Chapter 2:15. Jesus was the Pope of the sacred city, but he took the initiative to reveal this information. What was his purpose? But at this time, no one thought about it, because his words were like a fire, igniting the greed of the cultivators and the big demons again. They all looked at the withered tree full of holy light with red eyes. All the cultivators and big demons present had been through hundreds of battles. Everyone knew very well that there were originally 4 10,000-year-old spiritual fruits, so they had a better chance of getting the fruit. But at this time, there was only one 10,000-year-old spiritual root. It must belong to the one who lived to the end. The war was about to break out. Boom! Some demons started to attack directly. Kill! The 10,000-year-old spiritual root is mine. A big demon at the spirit gathering stage roared with his soul sense and attacked the cultivators next to him. Puff! Puff! The next moment, several powerful attacks directly tore its huge body apart, and it died. Those who block me will die. Roar! The fierce scuffle was accompanied by roars and fighting sounds. More than 40 cultivators at the spirit gathering stage were killed in just a moment. At the same time, the gold core stage also started to fight. Cultivators and big demons were no longer divided into camps. They all had the purpose of killing other people and demons. For a time, this forbidden space was filled with thunder, wind, and clouds, as if it was the end of the world. What was shocking was that the dragon python and the black tortoise from the territory of the Dasya kingdom were also very powerful. Although their cultivation was at the early stage of the gold core stage, under the joint efforts of the two big demons, dark clouds and black rain, directly strangled a big demon at the gold core stage of the Western world. The moment they attacked, all the cultivators and great demons were intimidated. Jiang Xi, Xian Tian, and Li Baibai were standing together at this time, and they didn't take the initiative to attack. Seeing this scene, they were also shocked. The dragon python and the black tortoise were indeed the demons in myths and legends. Jiang Xi. Go to hell. But at this time, a furious roar sounded. The flame dragon in the distance directly attacked Jiang Xi. Raging red flames were spat out from its mouth. The temperature was so hot that it seemed to be able to melt everything. Hey! Jiang Xi was not afraid of it at all. I was just looking for you. The sword light of the profound condensation sword flashed and swept towards the flames of the flame dragon. At the side, Xian Tian and Li Baibai wanted to help. However, another huge white figure with a powerful aura suddenly flashed and arrived. It was the Silver Wolf King. Xian Tian and Li Baibai were famous in the human martial arts world, but they seemed to be useless against the Silver Wolf King. Roar! Your opponent is me. The Silver Wolf King bared its fangs fiercely at the two of them. It was originally a spirit-nurturing stage wolf howling in the moon. 3 months ago, it cultivated into the gold core stage during the spiritual aura recovery. The howling in the moon wolf was at least 100 meters long. However, the Silver Wolf King was only 10 meters tall. This was because after reaching the golden core stage, its spiritual energy would be refined and condensed. Its body size would also shrink, and its strength would become even stronger. Bye-bye, this beast is mine. Go and help Jiang Xi. Xian Tian stepped forward with an excited expression on his face. Li Baibai was helpless. She said that she would let her attack first, but until now, she had not even moved her sword once. However, she also knew that the most important thing now was to help Jiang Xi. Her figure flashed, and she was about to rush over. The Silver Wolf King opened its bloody mouth and spat out a white light wave, trying to stop Li Baibai. However, Li Baibai ignored it and quickly passed through its obstruction. Ha, beast! Take this! Xian Tian laughed and slashed with his sword. The sword light was sharp and directly scattered the white light wave. At this time, Xian Tian's cells were boiling. After reaching the golden core stage for several months, he could finally sharpen his sword against a real golden core stage demon. The undead creatures in the Jade Lake secret realm did not count, because he was still in the spirit nurturing stage. How could it be better to defeat a strong opponent than to crush a strong one? Roar! The Silver Wolf King raised its head and roared, but it did not stop Li Bai Bai. Puny human, you are only food for the demon race. The golden core stage demon's aura suddenly exploded, and it pounced towards Xian Tian. Demons had strong bodies and preferred to fight with their bodies. Humph! Xian Tian snorted angrily, and the shocking true meaning of saber condensed in an instant. He was using the black saber that he had just obtained from the flame dragon's lair. Even if it was not refined, the quality of an inferior grade spiritual weapon was at least 10 times higher than an ordinary spiritual weapon. Slash! The saber seemed to be able to cut through the sky as it slashed out. The domineering aura made the Silver Wolf King's fur tremble. Oh no! It knew that it had to go all out, or it would be very dangerous. Its white fur lit up with a white light, condensing into a layer of protective light. Awoo! The Silver Wolf King roared. At the same time, it waved its giant claws that were suffused with white light, and slapped towards Xian Tian's saber. Die, human! Crack! Under the enhancement of the protective light, its sturdy giant claws could only cause a slight obstruction before it could no longer block the powerful saber. The wolf claws that were larger than millstones were chopped to the ground, and a ferocious aura spread out. Awoo! The Silver Wolf King howled and did not dare to fight anymore. It wanted to escape, but it was stopped by Xian Tian. It could only brace itself and face the attack once more. However, there was no way it could escape in this space. At the same time, Li Bai Bai was unable to help Jiang Xi in the end. She was stopped by a bearded golden core cultivator from the Sacred Alliance. Faced with another obstruction, Li Bai Bai was furious and attacked brazenly. Her sword was as fast as the stars, and she had the upper hand. However, she vaguely felt that they were being targeted. The Flame Dragon, the Silver Wolf King, and the Golden Core Cultivator from the Sacred Alliance were so coordinated. It was chaos in the forbidden space. Jiang Xi was not worried about the battle between Xian Tian and Li Bai Bai. He only glanced at them and turned his attention back to the flame dragon in front of him. No need to look anymore. No one can help you this time. I was already at the Golden Core stage 300 years ago. I have been sleeping since then. Coincidentally, with the revival of spirit chi, my strength has become even stronger. This world will be my era. The flame dragon's voice was like the ringing of a bell. It was arrogant, as if it was looking down on the world. Don't talk nonsense. You're still so confident. Haven't you been taught a lesson by an old Taoist for 300 years? Jiang Xi retorted. Awoo! You're courting death. The flame dragon roared. Its sore spot had been poked. Its giant wings flapped violently, and at the same time, flames spewed out. The wind helped the flames, and the power of the red flames increased by 30%. Little fire-breathing lizard Jiang Xi did not stop talking, but his hands did not relax either. The profound condensation sword continuously slashed out powerful sword light. At the same time, with the help of the wind, his body flashed and approached the flame dragon. After the sword light dispersed the flame breath of the flame dragon, Jiang Xi also came to the front of the flame dragon. He wanted to fight in close combat. Because the flame dragon was very strong. It barely had the combat power of the middle stage of Golden Core. At this stage, it was definitely a top Golden Core powerhouse. Since the flame dragon always breathed fire at him, it was obvious that the flame dragon had the upper hand. However, if it was close combat, the flame dragon's body was bigger, and its flexibility was definitely not as good as his. That was his advantage. Ha, you are only at the spirit gathering stage. Without the protective light, you dare to fight me in close combat. The flame dragon laughed loudly. The spiritual power of the golden core stage had completed the transformation. It could construct a layer of protective light to enhance the defense. This was also one of the means of the golden core stage to crush the spirit gathering stage. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.